What's good, folks? We're here with another episode of Red Dirt Dialogues, and today I have Cassius Cam with me. How's it going?
What's good, Bubba? Everything's good on this coast, on this side.
Yeah,
We eating out here. Everything's fine, man.
yeah. That what about that heat? How that heat hit?
It touched like 95 today, and
Yeah.
earlier our central air went out this afternoon.
Mm.
So I was tinkering with that shit for like the last couple of hours. I finally got it figured out though. So it's starting to cool down in the house. Bubba, when you work in the sun all day,
Mm-hmm.
the most infuriating thing on the planet is when your AC goes out. You come home, you've been in the sun all day, and you come home and it's still hot in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And there are very few things that make me that mad. And today's I really don't. Today's like the only day off I get, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I work Sundays. And for it to
Yeah.
go out today, man, woo,
Your only relaxing day.
I was a
I
I
it,
was a mad camper. My wife went to the lake today. She said, "You want to go to the lake?" And I said, "Nah, fuck that. I've been in the sun all week."
mm-hmm. You just want to rest on those days. Like yesterday,
Yeah.
I was out helping. I'm still job searching, so I've been doing a lot of odd jobs with a guy I used to work with. And yesterday, usually I work on a wedding venue on Saturdays, and during the middle of that time between because we go in the morning, we do the setting up, and then you have the middle of the afternoon to do whatever, and then we come back in at around like 9:30, and we clean up and put the bring the chairs and stuff we set up. We bring that stuff inside, put it in the storage room. But yesterday he needed some work done around his house. He was like he wanted to move some mulch. So yesterday after we left the wedding venue, I went to his house and we worked probably about 5 good hours. And I got this wheelbarrow. I'm having to go down this hill and and dump this mulch, and we trying to spread it out. And it was a lot of work. Like my what I don't know what this muscle called up here besides your neck, but hey,
Up in your traps.
yeah, my traps,
Yeah,
yeah,
your
my
traps.
traps, they killing me right now, and my calves, because trap going back up and down that hill. It wasn't a big hill, but it's just me have like I was going down it backwards trying to brace myself so I don't lose the load in the wheelbarrow. And man, I'm sore. And it, like you said, it was hot. I want to say I had like four four bottles of water and two Gatorades. Like it was killing me.
Yeah, man, it's rough. That blue collar life's a little rough. Like so, normally I'd be out doing fires, but this year I've had some knee issues. I blew out my MCL
Mm-hmm.
at the end of last season, rehabbed the whole thing, thought I was good to go, was getting ready to get out there, and I blew it again. So
Dang.
no fire season for me this year, but I got a good setup with the contractor I work with roofing
Mm-hmm.
houses, so I can still work and make good money while I mitigate the injury and hopefully get back at it next year. But man, being on a roof, sometimes I'm like, fuck, I'd rather be out on the fire line.
Yeah.
I can go find some shade in the forest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, under those trees. Since you already brought it up, let's talk about. So, how did you get into? What exactly is the job title for what you do, and how did you get into it?
So I do wildland fire, and
Hmm.
usually when people think of firefighter, they think of people driving around in the city
Yeah.
with the big trucks pulling people out of buildings. But wildland is exactly what the word is. Wildland. We're out in
Mm.
the forest. Um, these all these huge fires that you see, like what you saw in Texas earlier this
Yeah.
year, and then Canada, and you're just out there doing firefighter shit, running chainsaws, dropping trees, digging fire line. A lot goes into it, and you're out there for really long stretches.
Hmm.
Most assignments are 2 weeks at a time, 14
Yeah.
days, and you're working anywhere from 14. It's usually like a 14, 16 hour shifts, but depending on who's on the scene first, I've worked
Yeah.
28, 33-hour shifts,
No
32-hour
sleep.
shifts.
No
Nah, I
sleep.
mean, if you could sneak a couple of minutes, you do, but
Yeah.
your adrenals are tapped out, man. I stay slamming 5-hour energies the whole time.
That's
But what
that.
what what got me into that was I had been in up until a few years ago. I was in the lumber industry. I
Hmm.
was working in veneer mills, driving heavy equipment, um, a machinist. I was a utility guy, so I was one of those guys that has to learn like everything. And I give breaks, I give lunches, I'm hopping around. And it was a good paying job and it was a grind, but the monotony kind of got to me, and I just started kind of redlining with the hours, and it wasn't healthy. So I jumped ship and I started working at a different place, just a little odd job while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And the dude I was working with just kind of mentioned to me one day, he said, "Hey man, I think you should fight fire." And he was a guy that fought fire for about 10 years. He's a really good friend of mine to this day. We fought fire together. He's a really good buddy of mine. And I was like, "You think so?" And he says, "Yeah, I can just tell. Like, your demeanor, the way you work." He's like, "You're going to love it." And I went with a private agency, got all my certs, went out, and I fucking fell in love with it.
Yeah.
The first call, I fell in love with it, and I literally was jamming that until the wheels fell off. And I start literally because my knee's all fucked up now, but I started a little late compared to I just turned 32.
Okay.
And that's young by most people's measures, but you know, I've been doing this blue collar knuckle dragging shit since I was 11, 12 years old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my body's kind of beat up, and I'm starting to get to the age where like all those little nagging injuries that you don't really like take care of when you're in your 20s, kind of all that shit's starting to catch up with me.
Same,
you know?
I'm in the same boat.
So this year I talked with the lady, and she was like, "Yeah, you be smart, play the long game, sit this one out, see if you can get that knee bulletproof, and then make up your mind." You know, because out here in the boonies, like there's really no shortage of work if you want to sweat. You know what I mean? There's good skilled trade labor work out here. I make great money roofing houses.
Yeah.
And that was just the smart decision to take this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's now I tell you, just listen to it. It seems like it takes a certain type of man, a certain type of person to get into that line of work. Like I don't think that type of work is just for anybody, because you said it's already hot, and then you're dealing with fires. So what type of people do you usually work with? Do they have a little bit of an edge on their shoulders, or what?
We're all a little bit off our we're all a little bit off our rockers, man.
Yeah.
Anyone who makes it, anyone who lasts. The turnover rate's crazy. You know, as you can imagine, people are in and out, and they get a roll under their belt. That's what an assignment's called, a roll in the fire community. So when you go on an assignment, it's called a roll. And guys will come out for a roll and they're like, "Fuck this," and more power to them, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And really the work isn't the hard part. The hard part's dealing with people for fucking 21, 28 days straight, working with the same people, being dirty, not having the accommodations that you're used to having in a home. And if you're not a patient type of dude, then that kind of shit can really get to you. But the guys who stick it out are, they're just, most of them I work with, they're just gritty bumpkins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that like to push themselves, people that, you make decent money when you're out there long enough, but most people would not be doing it for what people get paid.
Yeah. So you have to really
especially federally, like government firefighters, entry level, is absolutely criminal what they pay. You're talking like sub $20 an hour to be out there risking your life and breathing in all those toxins and everything. But it's a mixed bag. But I think the majority of the people that do it, that do it well anyway, do it for reasons outside of themselves. It's like something they got to challenge themselves. They need something more out of their occupation, which is kind of what pushed me into it to begin with.
So you didn't feel like you're being challenged doing the logging work?
No. That's the thing. So people who are familiar with me know that I'm in recovery. I'm a recovering drug addict. I was real hung up in the Oxy game for a long time, and I've been off Oxy. In November will be 8 years. I'll be off Oxy, and one of the keys to not letting yourself relapse, for me specifically, is I can't allow myself to get complacent or too comfortable in my daily life, because what I like to say is like my addiction is always outside the window doing push-ups, just waiting for me to slip up. So I constantly have to have that challenge where it's like it's a voluntary animosity.
Yeah.
Because if I don't do that, if I don't pursue difficult shit willingly, then it's gonna find me, because that's just the life of an addict. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I used to be a big drinker. I wouldn't say I was crazy. I knew it for a while. I couldn't like I wouldn't to the point where I was killing myself, but I felt myself going down that road. And I think I kind of feel the same way you do, where you like it's the temptation is always there. It's like it never goes away. But like I'm just always having to remind myself. I have to remember my why. Like, why did I quit doing this? What was the reason? What road was I going down while I was doing it? And I think like you said, it's helping me the more I stay busy. Like doing this stream, I'm still trying to find work, but I'm still keep doing the stream. And I realize the more I stay busy, the less likely I am to fall into temptation. But I don't know if I would get into the danger type work you do. But I do find some like I told you, I was pushing that wheelbarrow. It's just some satisfaction in building the sweat. Yeah, it's hot. I like it a little bit. Like it sucks, the muscle aches and whatnot. But just knowing you did something out the sweat of your brow, and you got to use your muscles. I don't know. It just made me feel like a man. You know what I mean?
Nah, yeah, absolutely. And I think everybody needs that. And I think that's a huge issue with society in a nutshell today, is that daily life for the majority of people has become so easy that they got to create this animosity that they primarily need. You know what I mean? That's a necessity. That's a human experience. And when shit gets too easy, people are going to subconsciously go out of their way to try to develop static where it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not like I couldn't have went to a 4-year school. I was a straight A student. Like school was a breeze for me, dude. I was the kid that barely showed up, got straight A's, fucking smoked weed all day. Like it wasn't an issue for me. Like school was really easy for me. I could have got the scholarship and went to a school, but I started working and I was like, yeah, that classroom shit's not for me. Man.
Yeah. So like, did you even try college for a little bit, or you just like you knew automatically leaving high school? You're like, all right, I'm done with this.
Yeah, no, I went to college. I got a personal training certificate. That's kind of what got me into like the fitness.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So I was actually coaching college classes after I got my certs. I was running a boxing program at the local community college. I was doing PT for the football team. But personal training is like if you're not in a really densely populated area, where you can acquire like a lot of clientele, you're just not going to make it. And this is before, like this is back in 2011, 2012, before like all the YouTube trainers, like that shit wasn't around back then.
Social media wasn't as.
In hindsight, if I would have played my cards right, I could have got in early.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I might have been able to build something, but like, you know how it is when you're like 21, 22, like, especially when you grow up like I did, like, we didn't have a lot, we weren't, my mom, we were never hungry. My mom did everything she could to keep us fed. Like, but you come from like lower income areas. Once you start having to provide for yourself, like, everything's now.
Yeah.
So once I started making discipline. Exactly. And once I started making good money in the blue collar type trades, I was like, fuck all that,
Yeah. I'm battling that myself, just because like I tell a lot of people, I was like, I'm learning life from scratch. Like I'm having to make, because I wasn't. There's a lot of stuff my mom doesn't know, my dad doesn't know, and like that we need that. Like I'm learning how to be. My mom, my dad were never married, so I'm having to learn how to be a husband from scratch. I'm learning how to deal with certain problems, issues without the guidance. But that's why I love social media, because I've been able to come in contact with a lot of people that have a lot of knowledge and wisdom, whether they're, because I'm 36, but there's people follow me from freaking, I guess, 20 all the way to 70 something, and they're willing to share that knowledge with you for free. I mean, some of them you got paid. There's a lot of folks that have books, and I've been paying for books from different people. But that's one thing I can say I love about the social media, at least the people I got to, the people I built my circle around. I'm able to reach out to them and learn from them for not much anything at all. You know what I mean?
Nah, that's what's dope about the community that we're kind of affiliated with too, is
Yeah.
because like it might be hard to believe, but like I'm not an outgoing dude. You know,
Yeah.
I keep a circle small enough that I can put my arms around. You know, I got the
Mhm.
same my same five brothers from when I was a little kid, or just like
Mhm.
brothers to me, and like I don't need new friends. So
Yeah.
for me to actually put energy and time into developing a community on social media, which is something that I'm
Mhm.
not even too fond of to begin with,
Yeah.
like there's got to be something in that well that's worth
Mhm.
me going down there for. And
Yeah.
it's kind of, I still try to understand like how I kind of got connected with all the people that we converse with on a daily basis and share
Mhm.
inspiration and motivation with. But I really wouldn't change it for the world, because it's a we we are a community. And
Mhm.
like these last couple of years when I've been on fire, those people we speak with, whether it's Ken and Hotep, whether it's
Mhm.
Chad Lemoyne,
Yeah.
whether it's HJ directly, these people are
Yeah.
checking up on me and
Yeah.
making sure that I'm doing okay, and like
Mhm.
and wondering when I'm gonna be home. And
Mhm.
that's stuff that I don't necessarily get from like immediate family. So,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's the weirdest thing I tell you, because like I've had like you said, people, like random people. I remember one time I was joking, and I was like, every one of my followers send me 50 cent. And at the time, well, I'm back up to 18K, so that would have been $9,000, and I was just playing around. I even put up under it. I was like, I know the my group, the people that follow me, they're more the pull yourself up by the bootstraps thing. But I hear a ding on my phone. I look, and somebody sent me $100. I'm like, what the heck is this? And the guy, he didn't even tell me. I had to go find him. Luckily, his name was the same, similar to his Twitter name. And I went to find him. I said, "Thank you." He was like, "Darn, you found me." But it's just like stuff like that. And I remember when the pandemic went on, and I remember when they were we got laid off for a bit, and I just expressed my frustration about that. I was like, "Darn, we're not working." And I remember one Christian lady, she was like, "Hey, if you need some help, me and my husband willing to help." And I just thought that was like one of the coolest thing ever. I was like, I don't know these people from a can of paint. They just know me from the internet, and but they were willing to help. And just like that guy said, he was like, "Well, I could see you were butter in Christ." He was like, "You a genuine dude. I respect what you do." So I was just like, man, that, and it sucks when you can't get that kind of support from like you said, people. Like I do have a circle of friends outside of social media, that like my brother, my homeboy Spencer. I'm gonna try to get him on the podcast. I'm gonna try to get both of them on the podcast later on. But it's just like a few people like that I can reach out to. But it's weird that you seem to get more love from people you don't know personally than the ones you do know.
yeah, yeah. And I'm not like, me and my sister are super cool. We got a
Yeah.
great relationship. She'd be there in a heartbeat if I needed her. Same with my mom and
Hmm.
and stuff like that. But people tend to have that starve mentality. Like
Hmm.
they think there's not enough to go around,
Yeah.
when when they're, especially when they're not fulfilled with themselves, and when you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of affiliate yourself with people that aren't attached to material type stuff and just
Yeah.
attached to being personable and benevolent
Mm-hmm.
between human beings. That's a beautiful thing, because people, people are good. There's a lot of
Yeah.
bad people on the
Yeah.
planet, but for the most part, people are good, and they want good for people of like minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I'm always trying to advise people not to demonize a whole group of people. Like we make jokes, I make jokes, random jokes because I just think that's funny to me. That's just the way I grew up. You make race jokes, fat jokes, gay jokes, whatever, whatever. But and I'm lost my train of thought. I lost my train of thought. But if like, let's say how people they want to demonize the Chinese or the Russians or the Muslims or the Jews. I'm like, hey man, there's good people in all of those groups. Most of those people aren't the ones that you believe doing bad stuff. Most of those people that just wake up every day like we do. They want to go to work. They want to be able to provide for their family. They want to, maybe take a vacation every once in a while. Most folks they don't want you dead or poor. They just want to provide for themselves, and maybe they can't care about what you got going on, but that doesn't make them bad people. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. What really kind of like broke the ceiling for me is I grew up in a rural place. Like,
Hmm.
when I say Northern California, I'm talking I could throw a rock to Oregon. I'm way
Oh
up
yeah,
here. I'm in a part of California that like nobody even knows exists.
yeah.
Once you get north of like Redding, which is
Hmm.
a couple hours north of Sacramento, it might as well be fucking Texas up here, bro.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
is Bumpkinville out here. We're like,
yeah.
there's 50,000 people in the whole county that I live in,
Oh snap.
and it's one of the biggest counties in California as far as land
Yeah.
goes. But
Hmm.
I grew up in a small town, but it's a very diverse small town, which is not something you see very often.
Yeah.
So I was always, besides my little ghetto white neighborhood that I grew up in,
Hmm.
I was always the only white dude with
Yeah.
whoever I was hanging out with, whether it was with the kids from the black neighborhood, the kids from the Mexican neighborhood,
Hmm.
because the town I grew up with is a logging town,
Oh yeah.
and it's actually called Weed, California. And people, I went to Weed High School. Like, my high school was Weed High,
In
and
California, of all
in
places.
California, and the town was developed in the early 1900s because the wind is so strong that it was used to drive the lumber. So they're like, we're going to build a lumber town here. So it was kind of a mecca at that point, is like westward expansion towards Northern California. So what they did is they started shuttling a lot of black people in from the south, a
Hmm.
lot of Irish and Italians from the East Coast, Mexicans, and
Yeah.
this is early 1900s. So the neighborhoods were divided. There was
Yeah.
A camp, B camp, C camp, D camp. So there's the black neighborhood, Mexican neighborhood, Irish Italian neighborhood. And to this day, it's still separated like that, just because these
Yeah.
houses are like passed down the
Hmm.
family line. But
Yeah.
what it created was this crazy melting pot where it's just like all these blue collar people of different ethnicities forced to converge and live amongst each other. And it was a really
Hmm.
beautiful thing to have grown up in, because at a very young age, I realized that, like, man, there's poor people and not poor people. And that's
Hmm.
really
Yeah.
the only shit. That's really the only shit that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I like that. It's sort of similar here. I think I don't remember how many people are in this place, but it's diverse too. When I first grew up, like we grew up in the hood a little bit, and it was in our apartment complex. It was majority black. I think there was 99% black. There was one white family. There were no Mexicans. But as the black people started moving out, more Mexicans moved out, and I think within the elite, if they haven't already outpaced us, I think Mexicans are going to be the majority here. But it provided uh us to be diverse too. That's one thing I tell people I love about high school. I got there and it was such a melting pot of different people. But it was weird too, me because even though they were like we went to school with blacks, whites, Mexicans, I didn't hang around other races until I got to high school. Like my closest Hispanic friends, they know. Like I used to tell them, I was like, I was racist towards Mexicans when I was young because I had two cousins killed by Mexicans. I just took that and I was like, all right. some Mexicans killed my cousin. I'm not going to fool with them until I think I got to middle school, and then I was around more Mexicans, and I was like, all right, these people ain't cool, and these people ain't the ones that killed my cousins. And then I would say it's gonna sound crazy, but I saw white people as a whole different like species, not like animals, not that type, but I was just like I didn't know how to interact around white people, like I don't know, in like like a friend type of manner until I want to say my junior senior year because of football. When you playing football, you form a bit of a brotherhood, and so there's people that I met, and then I started getting invited to those house parties, and I was seeing how people like how you said you were getting the straight A's and doing all this stuff. I was seeing these so-called good kids that I grew up with, like you said, the straight A students, and I'm seeing them getting high and drunk. I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck are y'all doing? Because I knew I was a bit of a hooligan, but I'm like, what the heck are y'all doing all this? What are you doing
Yeah,
smoking weed? Like,
yeah.
so that was an eye opening to me. I was like, white people do this stuff too. Like, I don't know, man. I shelter myself really, but that high school really opened my eyes to the world.
Hey,
What
those
different?
those suburban white house parties are something else, man. There was a so outside, like on the outskirts of the little town, is pretty much just like broke people, Section 8. Like a
Hmm.
lot of grimy stuff, people of all races, and like those are the
Hmm.
people I'd be interacting with.
Yeah.
But then just 5 miles outside of town, like that's the kids in the suburbs. There was a lot of
Yeah.
Asian kids out there, a lot of rich white kids and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And boy, those bourbon kids turn up so hard. It
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
whenever there was a kid like puking off the balcony or like they had to call an ambulance, alcohol poison, it was always one of
Yeah.
those bourbon kids, man.
Hmm.
I'm telling you, those kids wild out, and I think a lot of it is, I'm not gonna call it entitlement, but I feel like when you grow up in a poor community or like say a drug riddled community, it does make it a little easier to stay away from that shit
Hmm. Because
in
you've
your
seen it
early
do what it.
teens.
Yeah, you've seen what it does to people.
And I didn't start having my bouts with addiction and alcoholism until I
Mhm.
was into my adulthood. I didn't start drinking
Yeah.
until I was like 21 years old
Yeah.
because my dad was such an alcoholic. I was
Hmm.
just like, you know what I mean? It kind of, so maybe those kids that are like uber sheltered or,
Hmm.
forced to play the piano and you got to go to
Yeah.
soccer practice today, when you when you make something off limits, it makes it a little bit more enticing.
Yeah. I would also say too, like some of the ones I interacted with, their parents acted more like their friends. I knew a lot of them would let them get away with stuff that I knew that, like, even though I did my own little dirt, if my mom knew, I was gonna get bust upside my head, and so that I set limits on myself on what I was gonna do, and I was more cautious, especially when I would go to their parties. I was like, I'm gonna be the good kid today. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna do anything that's gonna get me in trouble. And then I would also say, uh I don't know if this is correct, but this is how I saw it. I felt like, all right, I'm a black dude around all these white folk. Let me not do anything that would get me in trouble, because I just felt like they wouldn't, when it came down to it, they went these folk weren't gonna stick up for me. So even though we were friends, not all not all your friends are friends. Like, not everybody gonna go through the fire with you. And so I knew that about some of them, but I can say that about some of the hood dudes. But I just felt like, all right, I'm sort of like an outsider that I'm being allowed inside. I'm not gonna do anything to cause any ruckus. You know what I
Yeah, you find out who's who when it's time to jump some fences.
mean?
That's that's for sure. That's for sure right there.
Hmm. You So if you don't mind me asking, so what led to the addiction? Like, was it like, did something tragic happen or something?
Nah, man, I got into the dope game kind of young.
Uh
I
huh.
started when you grow up wanting stuff and you can't really
Hmm.
afford it,
Yeah.
and like everything around me where I was, it was just people who had shit were selling drugs,
Yeah.
so yeah, I got into hustling weed when I was like 13, 14,
Hmm.
just kind of making pocket change and being able to smoke weed for free.
Yeah.
and that type of thing. And then I got into I was in high school I graduated 2010,
Okay.
and out here in California, that 2006 to 2010, that was the ecstasy era. That was the Thizzle area. If you know anything
Okay.
about Bay Area music, and it's easy to set a small cow town on fire if you got the plug.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I got in with the ecstasy, started dealing a lot of pills and shit like that,
Hmm.
and then progressed from there to like anything I could get my hands on, whether it was
Yeah.
oxy and coke, a little bit of meth here and there. That was never really my. I could never deal with meth heads. That wasn't my.
No,
I couldn't
they're
deal
a
with.
whole different breed of.
It's a whole different animal, man. But
Mhm.
and it kind of progressively got worse, and then as I started to really like work more in blue
Mhm.
collar trade work, where you do a lot of like shift changes and
Yeah.
graveyard, and this is hard
Mhm.
manual labor, like three
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning. Everybody's
Mhm.
geeked out,
Yeah.
so it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna snort a oxy and
Mhm.
be good. Like work's gonna be fantastic tonight.
Yeah.
And I got that genetic predisposition because I'm from a family full of addicts,
Yeah.
and it slowly started to snowball for me, like hustling and making money, to me just being able to supply my own habit, to
Yeah.
me just falling completely off the rails, to the point where I'd go on these month-long benders where I'd disappear. I'd turn my phone off. I wouldn't answer any missed calls. I'd just be geeked out for weeks on end. And I ended up in a treatment facility in 2015. Yeah, I was 23,
Yeah.
and I went to a treatment facility. I had a union job at the time.
Mhm.
I was working with a lumber mill that had. I was on union, so I had really good benefits, and they sent me to this bougie ass facility down in Napa Valley, like Central California. Um, I think it was like $36,000 for 60 days of treatment.
Dang.
I didn't have to pay for none of it. It was
Yeah.
all covered by union dues. And
Mhm.
what was really interesting about that is, I mean, it didn't work. I relapsed when I got home, like within
Oh.
a couple of weeks, because I was treating it like a vacation.
Oh.
They had a pool and a gym. I was getting 5 meals a day. I
Yeah.
gained back all the weight and muscle I lost just being all
Mhm.
geeked out and doing dope. But what I did take away from that is it was such an expensive bougie ass facility. I was in there with like doctors and
Mhm.
lawyers, and you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it brings everybody down to the same level when it comes to something like that, because I'm sitting in a room, and you know how those meetings go. You got to share shit with people and all kinds of
Mhm.
stuff, and there's a prostitute sitting next to a lawyer.
Mhm.
And any other day of the week in public, that doctor might walk by that prostitute and be like, "What was this piece of shit scum human?" You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But hey, man, y'all got the same monkey on your back,
Mhm.
and now you're both in here right now. Brought everybody
Yeah.
down to the same playing field. So I don't think I didn't take a lot of good information away from treatment,
Yeah.
but looking back, like in hindsight, as I got older, I was like, damn, that really did have an effect on like how I view being compassionate to people, because I understand the steps. I understand the steps someone could take from being
Mhm.
successful and straight
Yeah.
to falling completely down into the deepest well that they've ever been in. And for me anyway, like me when I'm using drugs and me when I'm not, I
Yeah.
am a polar opposite person.
Yeah.
Um,
I got some friends like that. Well, I call them buds. That when they were not close enough to call friend, but like you said, the person you seen them grow up as, and then now on whatever. It's so many different drugs out here, and then everything's laced with fentanyl. It's like they're possessed by something, and the person you once knew is not the person that's in their head anymore.
yeah,
It's weird. I want to ask you something because a buddy of mine, I got a lot of friends that used to either do dope or sold it, just being what came up. And he said the one reason he became addicted, I think he didn't get addicted to the dope, but just smoking and drinking all the time was, he said, because he knew, inside what he was doing was wrong. So to deal with that, he has to, you know, get himself drunk or high just to deal with the lifestyle he intuitively knows he's living is wrong. Do you think some of that affected you? Like
Oh
just
yeah,
knowing?
100%. As I started to get kind of deeper into like selling dope
Hmm.
and stuff, uh, I think that's primarily what kind of started me using,
Yeah.
is to kind of numb out. My mom's a saint. My
Yeah.
grandpa took us to church every weekend. Like, I don't
Hmm.
come from a morally corrupt family. Like, yeah, there's addiction and alcoholism, but
Yeah.
we were raised to be good, hardworking, loving people.
Yeah.
And when you start when you're selling Percocets for food stamps and shit to like
Hmm.
moms in Section 8 that might be
Yeah.
pregnant and stuff like that, like in the back of your head, it's like, this is grimy, bro. Like,
Yeah.
come on, but this is not the way.
Hmm.
So I think there's a lot of people that kind of fall into that, and then it kind of just snowballs from there. So yeah, no, I relate with that. That makes a lot of sense, for sure.
Yeah. Because I used to tell people, I was like, the reason I chose liquor, like alcohol's my thing. I smoked weed, but I never really bought it. Like I paid for like 2 blunts my whole life out of all the weed I smoked. But because I didn't like it, it made me think too much. Like the way my brain works, I smoke weed and I'll be sitting there trying to. Probably said this like 3 times already on the pod, but I'll sit there and psychoanalyze your life. Like you'll be talking to so and so, and I'll just be sitting over there in the corner, and I'm trying to pick out the way. I'm analyzing the way you talk, what you say, his responses, and I'm like, he's trying to prove himself, and he's trying to do this, and like I'm like, he's probably grew up. His dad probably did it. Like it was just too much. So when I first tried alcohol, it was by accident. Well, not accident. They had that white liquor from the bootlegger, and we were just trying to get some girls to party. And I didn't. They didn't have no weed, and I didn't drink. But I was like, if this would have got to take to make everybody loosen up, I'll take the first shot. So I took the shot, and it was something different. Like it like mellowed me out. And I tell people, I was like, it quiets in me. I feel like it quiets the voices. Not saying like I was hearing voices, but I just felt like there was a lot going on in my head. But when I was drinking liquor, everything was on a level playing field, and whatever my single focus was on that night, it was usually trying to get some girls. That's what I that's what my intentions was, and that's what I was going after. I didn't really have any worries or anything like that. That's one other reason I tell people, I was such an idiot because I used to brag about being the best drunk driver. Like that was my that and how many four local Friday around here. That's what people know me for. So it was just like I didn't care about nothing but myself and this alcohol and whatever I want to do. I was very hedonistic in that in there. And it's crazy because I didn't drink for long. I started at 19, went off to college for a little bit. That's actually that first shot. It was while I was on my trip home, and then I went back. And then I just started drinking a lot in college. Came back from dropped out of college, drank a little for about a year and a half. I came home at 21, and then I quit at 24. So good 3 years. I did a little bit of you know partying, not too bad, but it was mostly the alcohol. Like anything I was doing, I had to be drinking. Whether it was playing video games, partying.
Mm-hmm.
Only time I didn't drink was when I went to Six Flags, and it came to mind. I was like, "Oh, we're going to Six Flags. I'm about to drink." And I was like, "Wait a minute, nah, we're gonna be out here in this 90-degree heat. That might not be a good idea." But
Yeah,
anything
that's
else,
miserable. That's
yeah,
miserable right there in the summer. Well,
yeah,
along with my opiate addiction, like my alcoholism was out of control too. I
yeah,
was at my worst. I was drinking about 3 pints of whiskey a day
yeah. See,
and
that's
snorting about 90 to 120 milligrams of oxy.
sheesh.
And the oxy, so a lot of people don't know this, but like the way your body reacts to certain drugs can kind of
Mm,
indicate whether or not you're an addict. Like if it
yeah,
has the opposite, for narcotics specifically,
hmm,
if it has the opposite effect on you that it has on everybody else,
yeah,
you're probably predisposed to being addicted to that substance. So like most people take an oxy and they fall out.
yeah,
I take an oxy, dude, and I'm ready to go find the Hope Diamond, bro. Like I'm ready to go on a goddamn mission. I'm ready to
Yeah.
rock.
Mm-hmm.
So, the oxy would get me up to do all these crazy long shifts at work, but like
Mm-hmm.
then to bring it back down to be able to fall asleep, I'd have to be slamming the liquor.
Yeah.
And that comes with I got the DUIs and the court fines I'm still paying on from from fucking
Jeez. Yeah.
from years ago. California has the strictest DUI laws in the nation, and rightfully so. You know what I mean?
But aren't they lenient on drug? Like, what's with that? With strict DUIs, but lenient on drugs?
I'm not entirely I'm not entirely sure if it's a drug DUI.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's all the same, but like your the first DUI um, is like it's at least a $3,000 bill right there,
Mm-hmm.
and then depending on what you what your alcohol content was, there's 3, 9, 12, 18-month programs, and just the process in order to get your license back is a lot harder than a lot of other states. But when it comes to like petty drug use on the street
Yeah.
out here in California, I don't give a fuck. I don't see a lot of it where I'm at because, like I said, I'm out in the boonies. We got crackheads and fiends
Yeah.
out there trying to cut out catalytic converters and shit like
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
But the jails in California are so full right now that like no one's
Mm.
getting prosecuted for anything. Like you really got to go fuck some shit up. Like that, they have that policy where petty theft, if it doesn't exceed $950, they don't even prosecute.
Has fentanyl been real bad up there where y'all are? Because I noticed like
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I lost two buddies to fentanyl last year,
Yeah.
actually, and one of my saving grace is that I got out of that before everything started getting spiked with fentanyl,
Mm-hmm.
because it's in absolutely everything now. And what you're seeing now is a lot of young bucks that are going out and getting their normal supply
Yeah.
of what they get, not knowing that it's spiked with fentanyl,
Mm-hmm.
and taking a Percocet that's laced up or got pressed with some fentanyl because they're stretching whatever they got. Whether
Yeah.
they're pressing pills or selling whatever, and then people are just falling out. But I know it's not. People are still on like the straight heroin around here, but
Yeah.
yeah, fentanyl's starting to creep its way out here into the country, and there's people falling out. There's people falling out everywhere. I think last year nationwide it was well over 100,000. Don't quote me, I might be wrong,
Yeah.
but you
But
know,
just ODing. Like you said, I've had two people in the last year or so. Um, One guy, he was always on, like, well, not always on drugs, but he had became a drug addict. Uh, Moved in Atlanta. He was getting sober, but I guess he relapsed. Fentanyl, boom, knocked him out. Another guy went. I was close with was on pills real bad. Went and got, went to the rehab. Came home, was sober for a bit. Got back on to whatever pills he was doing. They were laced with fentanyl, and he OD'd. And then just like even now, like we grew up around crackheads and whatnot, and they were mostly functional. It was just like, hey, here go a little money, fix my sink or something like that. But like now, these new drug addicts, they ain't even functional. Like they can't do nothing. They're just zombies, and it's weird, and it ages you like crazy. Like I know that like a lot of people around here, not a lot of people, but it's a lot. We're in the South. It's some meth going on, and it's just wild. Like there's certain places like it's crazy because I'm from the hood. I'd rather go to the Quick Trip in the hood than the one that's close to my house, because on that strip of road, that's where you see most of the junkies, not the crackheads we grew up with, but the other kind, the ones on the fentanyl and the whatever kind of meth. And I don't like going in there because I don't know how to deal with that really. Like that ain't the type of drug addicts I grew up with. So when I just don't. I don't know. I haven't learned how to interact with them like the ones I grew up with, and so I try to avoid them. And recently we went to I took my son to racetrack, and he likes to get the pizza. And we ran into this one guy. This one guy came up to me, and I could sense he was on something heavy, and I had to finally have a talk with my son about. It. I was like, "Watch out for that guy. He's on drugs." And he was like, "What's drugs?" I didn't even think my son don't even know what drugs. So I'm having to educate my son on what drugs are, and it was just a new talk that I had to have with my son. He's only 10, but it's necessary. I want to go ahead and warn him before something worse happens. I'd rather have him educated early than go out into the world and not know and then get involved with something and let it take them by storm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not those videos. I think it's out in Kensington, out in PA.
Yeah.
They
Oh
drive
yeah.
through that little grimy ass suburb of
Yeah.
Philadelphia. I think that's what it is. And there's people just kissing their shoes, but they're standing straight up in the air,
Yeah. Yeah.
just slumped. They look like what was that claymation cartoon when we were young? The
What
green dude.
Gumby?
He had a
Gumby?
Gumby. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
just Gumby at the waist.
Mm-hmm. It,
Oh,
it's
give me 1 second, but I gotta let my dog out.
all right. What's good, people? Back in just a second. Dang, that's I know I could pause it, but forget that. I don't do no pausing.
My
Hey,
bad, brother. He must have
nah,
seen a
you good.
deer or something.
Nah, you good. I
He
was
just
just could you hear me talking to myself?
no. I popped my headphones off.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying I was talking to myself really, and I was well, I'm talking to the audience that I can't see right now. I was just like, we don't do no pausing of the other thing. We're gonna go all natural.
That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah, because
That's the way to do it.
the reason I didn't put out like the first three as soon as they dropped is because I was trying to figure out like editing and stuff like that. I was just like, forget it. Let I'm just gonna put everything out there and we're gonna go from scratch.
Nah, just wing it, man. Just
Yeah,
wing it
that's
till you're flying. That's the way. What you got to fail fast, bro.
yeah. That's what I
That's
learned from
really the only
HJ.
way to. It's really the only way to go about it. You know.
Yeah. Because I've been letting my fear hold me. Like I was supposed to start the podcast. Like in my mind, I was supposed to start the podcast 2 years, like 2 or 3 years ago, and I want to do YouTube skits 10 years ago, but I kept letting my fear hold me back. And that's another blessing that I've come in contact with. Like you said, like the hotel community and some of the some of the conservatives. Some of them are legit, but just the great advice I've been getting lately, and then like I'm getting out of my shell. Like you said, you're not really a people person, right? Like me in person, I'm not either. Like, but for some reason on social media, people seem to gravitate to them. That's just the way it's always been. Where people they'll come up to me and start talking to me, tell me their life story, and I don't know why, but I was like, all right, I'm just gonna sit here and listen to you.
Yeah.
I might
Yeah.
learn something. So I was like, I'll just use that gift guys give me, and then we'll turn it into a podcast.
Yeah, no, I'm the same exact way. My wife's always giving me shit about it because
Yeah.
she's like, you look so unapproachable when we're out, whether we're grocery shopping at Costco or like doing whatever.
Hmm.
She's like, you just got like this perma funk look on your
Yeah.
face, and I was like, that's my defense mechanism. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
talk to no strangers. So if I just walk around with the mug on,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, with the hat brim pulled super low so you can barely see my eyes,
Hmm.
like that's my defense mechanism. I'm a really personable person, and
Hmm.
I'm friendly, but I try to, I try to lay as low as possible.
Yeah.
I'm really
I
not
check.
as outgoing as my persona would kind of. What's funny is that like I started releasing music because of the chat on
Mm-hmm.
Hotep's Been Told You is
So tell me about that. Go in detail
I
about
just
that a little bit.
started like I just started like putting in the comments like, yeah, man, I can make music. Like
Yeah.
just when they talk about hip hop or whatever, and
Yeah.
people just like do it, do it, do it, do it. So then I
Yeah.
started putting out music, and this is before me, Unc, and HJ were even on like a friend level, like where we would even
Mm-hmm.
talk to each other. I just started tagging them, tagging them, tagging them, tagging them,
Yeah.
until finally they started reposting my shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh damn, okay, like that's kind of cool. And then
Yeah.
HJ Live on Air in like 2021 gave me the offer to do the intro for the show.
Yeah.
And I almost crashed. I was operating forklift at the time,
Mm-hmm.
so I would listen to HBTY at work
Mm-hmm.
while I'm driving forklift, and
Yeah.
he said I almost crashed the forklift, bro, because like I
Yeah.
couldn't believe it. I was like, no fucking way, dude. I rewound it, played it back like 3-4 times, and I actually wrote that intro
Mm-hmm.
driving a forklift at a lumber mill.
That's dope. I tell people like it's a new thing. It just feels so cool when like my name's been mentioned on the show a couple times, and I'm just like, what the heck? And I'm just like, oh, that's just the cool, especially when it comes to people you respect. Like I respect the whole. Well, I don't know the whole community, but I respect everybody I've come in contact with so far. And then when I heard my name, I'm like, dude, oh snap, that's me. Like, oh snap, and I love your music. Like, what's my favorite line is that why you folks, why these folks, man, I'm trying to blank. Why these folks finessing your protests? I'm in the gulags playing chess with the hotel. Like that's just my
Yeah.
favorite. That's my favorite line.
That's mine too. That's my favorite line too. Hey, was real, like, and I'll be completely forthright. Like these dudes, like when I got to meet them and break bread with them, this is kind of a funny story. HJ didn't know I was white. He thought I was a black dude. So
I'm sorry, I don't know why that's so funny, but
nah, it's funny. It is funny. So I get down to Vegas and I hop in the lobby for the first Hotep Con. Everybody else recognized me.
yeah,
Jay, Chad, everybody else, because my fucking Abby's right there. You know, my picture's
yeah,
right there.
yeah.
And I had been rapping with them in DMs before, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And HJ standing there talking to everybody, and I just walk up and dap him up, and he looks at me like I'm fucking crazy. And he was like, who's you?
Yeah.
He was like, what's your handle? I was like, I'm Cassius Cam. He was like, you Cassius Cam? And I was like, yeah, bro. He was like, oh shit. He's like, I thought you were black. He didn't never look at my Abby or anything like
Yeah.
that. So it's been kind of like a running joke over the few years that I would kind of clown him about that. But
Yeah.
these people, like, you know, I got a chance to hang out with them for a few days and break bread with them, and there's a handful of them that I converse with daily. You know, they're
Yeah.
whether I'm texting back and forth or whether it's the Men of Order chat, which is doing great right now with the workout programs and stuff like that. But there's no big timing with those dudes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, HJ will get on stream and be all bombastic and talk his shit, which is dope. That's his brand, and that's what he's gonna do, and people love it. I love listening to it too. But when you actually meet these cats, they're like the most humble, down to earth, chill people you could ever encounter. You know what I mean? And I feel like there's a lot of ego-driven persona when you run into somebody in that social media influencer space, you know. But when it comes down to brass tacks, like these people are just like really down to earth, humble. They're just real ass motherfuckers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing. You're not. What you see is what you get. You know what I mean? There's no frosting, no sprinkles. It just is what it is. So you kind of gravitate towards those kind of people, because if it wasn't for that community, it's like I'm not going to be affiliated with any other social media bullshit. Because like I said, that's just not my bag. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because like, man, I'm telling you, like, I'm trying to think how I came in contact with the community. I think first it was somehow like Jason Whitlock, and then I think no. Now I remember. It was I started watching more conservative stuff. You know, you got your with the PragerU stuff and whatnot, and so I got familiar with like Joe Rogan and stuff, and so I started listening to this podcast, and I remember seeing HJ on there, and I watched probably like the 30, 40 minutes, and the first time I seen it, I was like, this nigga crazy. And so like I didn't even finish watching it. But for some reason that video kept popping back up in my on my thing, and it was like I was like, well, all right, I guess I'm gonna finish it. I think I had some free time. I was driving far, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna listen to it. And so I listened to it. I was like, oh, okay, this he knows more than I gave him credit for when I first listened to it. I guess I wasn't being receptive when I first tried to listen to it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna follow this dude. So I followed him at first, and then I watched, the Hotel's Been Told You, and so then I followed Unc, and Unc's hilarious. And then like I would start to add people that I would hear them mention in the chat, like you, Chad, Goldstein. It's so goddamn many. But like I would start doing that, and then I would see y'all interacting on the timeline, and I was like, oh shoot, I'm gonna follow some of them now. So I think Unc was the first one that followed me back, and some of you guys, and then HJ followed me back, and I've been more in contact with y'all's than I think I've been with anybody else. Like Chad's the one that helped push me to start the stream. He's the first person to invite me on a podcast. Like I was still BSing around, and he was like, "I want to have you on," and I was like, "Well, shoot, I don't even have the equipment, so let me." I had got some stuff together, and finally, I appeared on the Aquarian Anarchy thing with
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
And once I did that, I was just like, "Oh, this is kind of fun." Even though you're just talking, but it's like you're just sharing your thoughts with a bunch of guys, brainstorming, iron sharpens iron, whatever. And then I was like, "All right, I really have to get my own thing going." And like, I feel like I'm just simple dude. I don't have a lot of knowledge to share with everybody, but I know I'm in contact with so many people that I'm like, well, I know like you have a story, not everybody else that I've had on the podcast so far, and everybody else that I'm already lining up. I know they got a story to tell, something they can share that would I think would bring it's beneficial towards the world, I say. And so I've just been trying to get that out there. Maybe I can add, my 2 cents to whatever, but I really don't even want to hear myself talk.
Yeah, no, I feel. Hey, shout out to Marcus and Nico too from Aquarian
Yeah,
Anarchy.
yeah. Shout out to them
I
too.
feel like that's such a. I mean, it'll get there in due
Yeah.
time, but it's like such an undervalued
Hmm.
uh, stream every week
Yeah. Yeah. I
because
agree.
we give Chad a lot of shit for being a big word ass motherfucker who's always got these big words and nerd out. But he is one of the most articulate and well thought people I've ever met when it
Hmm.
comes to making a point. And the same thing goes for Marcus.
Hmm.
And right when you think Nico's not paying attention and he's
Yeah.
zoning out,
Hmm.
Nico pop in with some crazy young buck wise words, because
Yeah. Yeah.
Nico's a young head, but
Hmm.
that's a smart cat.
Yeah.
But shout out to them at Aquarian Anarchy. They've had me on a couple times, and it's there's never a wasted conversation over there. When
Yeah.
when when Chad and Marcus start spitballing and starting to like
Hmm.
iron out these points, you're going to be hard pressed to find two people that can articulate an argument and a point better than those two guys. So I
Yeah.
hope that I hope that their shit takes off and gets and I know they don't care. They're like, fuck it, we're
Yeah.
just doing this for us. But
Hmm.
I hope it gets the props it deserves one day.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I love this stuff. I even I wrote them the other day. I was like, "What's going on with?" Because I noticed I'm like, "Hey, I haven't been seeing y'all," and I'm watching every week, but they said they were dealing with something. So once life get sometimes life gets us. So he said they should be starting back soon, and I wish them the best because I'm definitely gonna be tuning in. And like you said with them, that's the same way I felt about Goldstein too, because I feel like he came out of nowhere, and then I'm just like, man, I can't like.
I was just about to say, man, that motherfucker kicked down the door, didn't he?
Yeah, and then like even when I had him on my thing, I was just like, bro, I can't zone out because if he's gonna say something, he'll say something, and if I miss it, I'm screwed. Like he was one of those ones that where I just had to. I was like, all right, I got to be extra attentive. Just like you said with Chad, it's just like I don't want to because that's another thing about the community. There's always gems being given out, whether it's you know, hotels been told you like it's so much free game being given out. It's ridiculous. And I'm like, I don't be when I'm tuning into y'all stuff, I don't want to miss it. So I'm just like, all right, let me rewind that, or let me say that, or like, all right, I'm gonna have to listen to this again. Like I just listened to the one with that HJ did with Dr. Inky, and he was talking about people not getting enough collagen, and
Hmm.
that's why their joints have been feeling weak. And it clicked with me because with me, my body type, it's easy for me to build muscle. Like if I get skinny within the next month, I can build some muscle as long as I'm eating. Like that's just the way my granddad was, that's the way my dad is. But I noticed like I was doing push-ups, right? And the muscle was building, but I was feeling pain in my elbows all the time. And I didn't know what the heck was going on. And then another thing, I've been recently started back working out and walking, and then I started feeling pain in my knees, and I was feeling pain in my Achilles. And when he started talking about that collagen, he was like, people strengthening their muscles, but they're not getting enough collagen, strengthening up their tendons or whatever. I was just
Yeah.
like, dang, that's probably what's been going on with me. It's like your muscles are getting stronger, but you got to strengthen. You got to take in the food that's going to strengthen your tendons.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I eat a lot of bone marrow.
how do tell
Go
me
to the
how do I
go to the butcher.
go to the
Yeah,
butcher?
I go to the local butcher. They got cut up bones, raw bones.
Yeah,
I mainly get them for my dog because he's a spoiled fucking rotten mutt,
yeah,
and he gets the world. He got the pearliest whites in the whole neighborhood because he's chewing
yeah,
on raw bones every day. But I grab
yeah,
some for me too, and they'll be milled out. You just scrape the marrow out and use it like butter. That's how I use
yeah,
it. I fry stuff in it. And, I did that. I did carnivore strict for like 2 years.
yeah.
So the majority of my diet, there was a lot of bone marrow and stuff involved. I've kind of pulled back. I eat a lot more fruit and stuff now,
Hmm.
just because I like fruit and shit, and sourdough bread. But
Yeah.
the the bone marrow, man, that as far as like a dietary choice that I made, that I really noticed a difference.
Hmm.
Implementing a lot of bone marrow really was noticeable for me, as far as like my joint pain and stuff like that.
So it was significant enough to where you was just like, oh yeah, this is
Oh, it's a staple. It's an absolute
yeah.
staple in my diet now.
And is that like like it's in every dish, or just like every other day I put it in some different dish?
Just when I'm feeling it, like
Yeah,
I'm a cooking some bitch, dude. I like to
yeah,
cook. I
yeah,
cook a lot, and I really like to use it for dressing when I make like steak.
yeah.
So I'll do a T-bone or a tri-tip, and then I'll melt that marrow down in a pan and
Hmm.
put some Parmesan in it to thicken it up and use it like a drizzle over top of whatever I'm eating. But yeah, no, I eat almost just about every day. Yeah.
Yeah, you put me on right now because I tell you, it used to just be in my right angle, but 3 weeks ago I want to say I was baling hay and we were putting it on this lady's trailer. And so I was, the trailer's already off the ground. And then we were like 4 or 5 stacks up, and I was sitting on top of it. And I was just like, all right, I'm just going to hop off the truck. I'll be all right. Not young anymore. So I hopped off the truck. And when I landed, I just it felt like my feet gave way and I just slipped back. Luckily, I didn't hit my head on the truck, but I just felt pain in my ankles. And I felt pain in my ankles, and it really hasn't gone away. Like I don't feel it all the time, but it's just like one of those things that's just been nagging me. And when I heard that stream, I'm like, okay, I have to do something about this and take it more seriously because I like to run. I used to run track in high school, and then even after high school, I used to run just as a hobby. Just it helped me clear my mind, and I haven't been able to do that lately. And it's kind of not depressed. I guess I'm gonna say depressing. I can't find a better word right now. It's kind of been depressing not being able to run because that was my getaway, my out. You know what I mean? That's it. That's one of those things I did to help me clear my mind and get myself back in focus. And like I told you earlier, I don't mind sweating. Like I like sweating. So running that helped me break sweat. And not being able to do that, it sucks. Like because I don't like I tell people I was like I'm short and I'm bald. I can't be short, fat, and bald. Like that's just I don't want to be that triple threat. So I'm trying to, at least if I'm gonna be short and bald, at least let me, I don't have to be like a bodybuilder, but at least let me have some toneness to myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I feel like America's gotten so out of shape
Hmm.
that just pursuing a little bit of fitness
Hmm.
has been like the new bar,
Hmm.
you know? And what I try to tell people is like the reason I take my training so seriously is when you make the hardest part of your day voluntary,
Yeah.
everything else ain't shit.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If I wake up at 4 a.m. and go break myself off
Yeah.
in the gym, um, nothing that day is that's going to get thrown at me is going to be harder than what I just did.
Yeah.
But dealing with injuries sucks, man. Like I just said, I'm just getting back to where like I can squat again,
Hmm.
and I'm a guy that's like I'm used to rucking, 20 miles a week with a 50-pound vest. Like
Yeah.
I love being up in these hills hiking with my dog, and not being able to do that been has really sucked because that's like my main go-to when I just need to like get my head right,
Yeah. Yeah.
and having that taken away from you is like it'll make you real bitter real quick.
Hmm.
But the important thing is you just got to adapt and then find something where you can kind of mitigate that same stress valve until
Yeah.
you can get right to to do it the way that you want to do it,
Yeah.
whether it's running and stuff like that. But the joint pain primarily in your ankles, yeah, the collagen and that's going to be huge. I'm about halfway through that Inky interview, so I need to catch up
Yeah.
and finish the rest of that
Yeah.
because I knew it was going to be really good from the first half that I listened to.
Yeah, it's been so. If I sent it to my brother today. I was like, bro, listen to this, and because it was something he said about the protein. He was like, people think they're not getting enough protein, and then your body ends up storing it, and you gain the weight. He said, and then when HJ said, he was like, no wonder he said he had developed fat around his gut, and I was like, oh, that's because the same similar thing has happened to me. Because I was like, all right, I ain't getting. I was thinking I wasn't getting enough protein, so I've been, trying to, you know, get more protein than I have been, just upping the amount of like red meat and stuff I've been eating. And I'm like, man, I'm not even losing. Like, I'm at 191. Usually when I get in 190, I get sick. But recently I just been stuck around that area, and I have been able to lose. I think the lowest I've been in maybe 3 months is 188, and I'm like, I usually feel more healthy around 170, 175, and I want to get around there, but I'm like I'm messing something up in my diet, and I don't know what it is, and that's helped me. And then the workouts I do, I need to figure out something specific towards what I want. Like I don't want to be a bodybuilder, Jack. I'm trying to figure out what body type I'm going for. I would say maybe like I never did boxing, but the box body type where they're not too muscular, but they got
Yeah,
enough to make you second guess once you look at them. I think
yeah,
that
like me.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I feel like that body type fits me. That would fit me better.
Yeah, nah, like I said, man, you hop over to menoforder.com. Like a lot of my workout of the days are primarily focused around conditioning endurance for boxing specifically. I do got like weight. If you want to get swole, you go talk to the Strong Dad.
Yeah.
I ran the Strong Dad's program last year,
Hmm.
and I swelled up like a fucking pumpkin, bro. Like
Yeah.
I my traps were poking out. Like I put
Yeah.
on some mass real quick. Trey Strong Dad Protocol, he can put together a program,
Hmm.
and I know quite a bit about about strength training, hypertrophy, that type of thing. But like my forte is the conditioning for athletes specifically, primarily boxing. And it's a do you got boxing gyms in your area?
I do. I haven't visited, but I've been thinking a lot lately, like um, getting me and the kids into that because I have a buddy. He trained, and he was actually helping me for a couple weekends. But like our work schedules, they just conflicted because he was helping me doing free. I tell you, the first thing I picked up quick was my defense because after getting hit a few times in the in the face, my body just started picking it up quick where I was able to dodge.
Oh yeah,
But because
that's the that's the
he,
biggest. Most of my training partners over the years have been guys that are way bigger than me.
yeah, he's like 240, 250.
I'm
He's
used
about
to sparring heavyweights, so like yeah, I'm my footwork's nasty because I'm used,
yeah.
I'm used to staying away from these big fellas. I usually hover
Mhm,
around. When I used to compete, I'd get all the way down to 163,
mhm,
163, 165, 168. That's kind of where I hung out.
mhm.
Now that I'm a little older, I don't like getting that light because I having the six pack and everything is cool,
Yeah,
but being that lean is I don't think
yeah,
is it's not healthy, but it's
nah.
not healthy at all. I'd have like really after weight cuts and shit, I'd have like really bad anxiety and I'd have
Mhm,
insomnia, and like I'd have
yeah.
cold sweats all the time. Like so finding that healthy I usually hang out between 180 and 190. That's kind of like
Mhm,
my sweet spot. But yeah, I tell everybody like if you can find a gym, hop in there and just be a sponge
yeah.
because there's you know boxing's a great first martial art to start with.
Mhm,
Um, and I think as far as self defense goes,
yeah,
it's probably the most applicable thing you could learn
yeah.
for like real life situation. Jiu-jitsu and stuff's great too, but jiu-jitsu is not going to help you too much if you're about to get jumped by three or four guys.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
can develop a nasty three punch combo and a 40-yard dash,
yeah,
that's that shit'll keep you safe, you
yeah.
know.
So,
So
so, so how did go ahead?
I just tell people that's a really good first one to start with if they don't have any experience at all when it comes to martial arts. Not saying that I know guys that never trained martial arts in their life but could fight. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because they're not the same thing. But I tell people who are interested in training boxing's a good first one to get into for sure.
See, that was the flaw I came up against when I was growing up. Like a lot of my homeboys, they know how to fight because they did it. But me, I'm more of a jokester, so it was easy for me to make friends. It was easy for me to make friends. It's hard for me to make enemies. So I didn't get into as many fights. And then even when like our town's not too big, so where I stay is out the road. That's some people say it's track some back. I say track some back. So once you cross the train tracks and you go on past that way, that's out. That's called out the road. And then, so we were so-called South Side. It's weird because the South Side wasn't even on the South Side of town. And then you have, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, okay. And then you got, the West Side. And so a lot of the West Side folks will get into it with the South Side folks. But the thing is, I lived on the South Side because, well, that's just where I live and where I grew up. But I didn't want to go to county school, so I go to the city school, and that's what most of the West Side dudes went. So I became friends with them because we were in school together and we played football together. So a lot of their beefs, I wasn't included in them. Like I was able to stay out of them. Nobody pressed me to jump in because I was like basically it's my friends fighting my friends, and like I was like only thing maybe like if my brother was getting jumped, then I would jump into it. But that never happened, at least not in front of me. And so I was able to stay out of it. And then like even once we got out of high school, like a lot of my friends are hotheads, and like they would realize like if you have a problem with me, the problem isn't me. It's most likely you. So they would be quick to jump on your head before I would even get the chance. Like they'd be offended that you trying to mess with me type stuff.
Yeah,
Not and it's not like I was nobody's leader, nothing. I was just a guy. But
yeah.
they would be quick to fight for me and defend me. So I never got the fighting experience they did. And but another thing that helped me was the football muscles. People would see, they were like, okay, you muscular. I'm not. They wouldn't go take their chances. Even the small few skirmishes I got into, I was able to stay out of them because I had muscle. But I know now. I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to avoid. I want to be able to know what I'm doing with my hands. I don't want to goddamn think I know what I'm doing and hop out there and get my junk rocked. flailing
Yeah.
like I.
No, and
So.
it's like modern modern man's like overestimation of what
Mhm,
they're capable of in a fight is at a level where it has never been. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
there's a lot of hotshot guys that I call them the icy red guys. You ever
mhm.
had a conversation with somebody? Oh man, when I get into it, I just see
See
red.
red.
I
They
just,
let the emotions take over, and then like those
I
are the
just see
wild
red.
fighters.
You don't want
Yeah.
to be in front of me when I see red. But I tell people like you got to get some level of like actual technical training because
Mhm.
not only will it keep you safe, it'll completely keep you out of those situations to begin with. Because when I got into, I formally started training when I was like 11 years old,
Mhm.
and before that, I was getting into it all the time with kids.
Yeah.
I was kind of overweight. I was real chubby,
Yeah.
and the neighborhood I grew up in, it was a rough neighborhood, but like we were all really close, so we'd be beating
Yeah.
up on each other all the time.
Mhm.
But if some other kid said something to me from the school,
Yeah.
it was on. You
Mhm.
know, I was ready to rock. But like once I started formally training and started getting beat up by people who knew what they were doing, it really
Yeah.
like made me take a step back
Mhm.
and just not want to be involved with that at all outside of the gym.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I don't think I got into another serious, maybe one or two uh,
Mhm.
more serious fights in my life. Like I didn't grow up having to get into fights with and partly what you were saying is like being affiliated with those two separate friend groups that were always beefing with each other.
Mhm.
I kind of had the same thing going on, but I was in the gym and that's what kept me out of it.
Mhm.
It's like nah, bro, I'm in here training. I'm getting beat up every day
Yeah.
already. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? I tell him I was like, take your ass to boxing class, man. If you want to go
Mhm.
box somebody, like
Yeah.
that's shit's stupid. So it really ended up keeping me out of a lot more trouble than it got me into. And it just knowing that you can protect yourself if shit hits the fan
Mhm.
will allow you to defuse situations when you kind of see that shit
Yeah.
kind of pop up. It the de-escalation when
Yeah.
you're competent in hand-to-hand
Yeah.
combat is probably like one of the most beneficial things that you could get from it.
Mhm. I think I would be decent, like I with grappling, like that type of stuff, or wrestling, because that's what I've always like. You grow up around boys. That's just what we're gonna do. We're gonna,
Yeah.
and then I being short, I didn't have a Napoleon complex, but I wasn't afraid to try to challenge the biggest, the biggest guy. So sometimes I would get thrown around, but like I learned to wrestle with people bigger than me, and we stay. You know what I mean when I say locking up.
Yeah.
So we do that all the time. There's only been like two dudes I haven't been able to slam out of my homeboys, and those were the guys that was smaller than me. It was weird that I was like, I no, wait, I'll say three. My boy Trent from college. I don't know what kind of voodoo he had, where like I get to where I can get inside. I'd pick him up, and then as soon as I go to sling him, somehow I end up on the bottom, and I never figured out how he did that. I don't know what he did, but he had my number. I give him that. But like it'll be you know pause, but you know what cock strong mean.
Nah, that must be a down south thing.
It might be. It's basically you stronger than what you look. So I've always been that way. So I think that's one thing to help me even before
Is
I
it that like a rooster reference? Is
I
that
don't know
what
where it
that?
came from. That's just what we grew up. It might be.
I
It
kind of
might
said
be.
because hey, some little bandy roosters meaner than a motherfucker, Bubba. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that might be where that came from. I'm gonna
Yeah.
be
So
Google
that's
searching after this because I gotta find
yeah.
out.
Yeah. If I knew all that stuff, we'd look it up like they do on the other thing. But I still got to learn that stuff. Like, all right, we're gonna pull up. We're gonna look up cockstrong. Pause. It be stuff like that. I don't even want to do my Google search
Yeah,
sometimes.
I don't want that in my search bar.
Man, I know one dude. He got in trouble at work. This is off topic. He got in trouble at work because he didn't know that the searches were being monitored, and he was searching transsexuals, but he wasn't doing it trying on no freaky stuff. What they would do is he figured out he was a the lead man, and he figured out the supervisor's password. So he was just gonna hack it and put the trans person as the guy's background, and so he had researched that it was gonna put it as a screensaver. And the next day they called him and I was like, hey, you know, why were you searching up trannies or something like that? And he was like, and so he had to explain himself. He was like, I was just I was just trying to put this as a screensaver. Like he was like, I was goofing off, but it wasn't as bad as what you think type stuff. Like
That's hilarious. So this happened last fire season. So
mhm,
uh, I was operating as a squad boss. So like I had I'm like, there's 20 guys on a crew, 4
mhm,
squad bosses. Every squad has 5 individuals in it. So you're kind of like you're like the overhead for that little squad within
yeah.
the crew. So when
Mhm,
you go get lined out and briefed on like assignments and whatnot, like the squad bosses will go meet with the direct overhead, and this could be people from the Forest Service, people from BLM, people from Cal Fire, like whoever's in
mhm,
charge of this incident. This is like the tip of the spear. These are the bosses. You got to go
yeah.
talk to overhead. And on fire, like you airdrop maps to each other. So a lot of times you're airdropping maps of the area that you're working. The fire map
Yeah.
updates every day, so you'll be airdropping maps back and forth. So we all go meet with overhead to get the maps airdropped.
Mhm.
And in our work trucks, in our fire work trucks, we're all in our separate trucks. When the Bluetooth is connected to the truck, everybody has their phone
Yeah.
listed by their name, or
Mhm.
we were just being shitheads, so we would type in our phone like something funny as
Yeah.
the name for the Bluetooth when we wanted to play
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
And I was fucking off it. The name on my phone was Big Dick Swinging. And we're walking there. The crew boss calls us over. They say, "Yo, squaddies, come over here so you get this map airdropped."
Yeah.
And I'm walking up to him, and I turn my airdrop on, and right then in my head, I'm like, "Oh no," because I know it's about to pop up on the overhead's phone. And
Yeah.
I try to change it. Like as I'm walking up to him, I try to change it to my actual name,
Yeah.
and I walk up, and he's got this look on his face, and we're all standing around him, and he looks up and like this, and he goes, "Who's Big Dick Swinging?" And I'm like, yeah, I had to like raise my hand
Yeah.
like all slow. I got lucky because the overhead was cool. Like he was a funny
Yeah.
cat, you know what I mean? But
Mhm.
there's women overhead out there sometimes too. Like that could have been a disaster.
Mhm.
But I'll remember that for the rest of my life. You talking about that just reminded me. I was so fucking embarrassed, man.
Man, that's the thing about women. Nothing against women, but like that's the thing about having them in the workplace. Like the place I worked for 10 years, there were no women that were working on the crew, like on because I was in a metal shop, so it's a lot of stuff they couldn't do. But recently, once I left, they started allowing women. Even a little bit before I left, hold on, let me get this water. But a little bit before they left, I mean, a little bit before I quit, they started allowing women to work there, and I didn't like it because I know you gotta. If I don't know, like you can't joke the same way. Not saying like not even saying it perverted. Like it's just like certain words you don't want to use because you don't want them to get offended, or certain phrases and like. So I didn't like it. The first girl they had come up, she was actually pretty cool. Uh, I don't know why she not like me, but she liked me. So with me and her, they have no beef. She didn't like my lead man, so he would always come to complain about it. And I was like, whatever side she's showing you, she ain't showing me. Like she's cool, but I got along with her. I quit, but according to after I left, man, it got crazy. It got to where folks were sleeping around on the job and like it just it went wild. Like I heard stories, man, I can't even tell some of the stories. I Nah, because I was about to get into it. I was like, no, I'm not even gonna tell the stories. I don't want to incriminate nobody. There's some folks I know that still working there, but I'm just telling you, it got wild. Like people started sleeping around. Some Nah, I can't. The stuff I want to tell you, I can't tell you. Let me just stop. Let me just stop.
Hey, that
It
fraternization, that's real, man. That
Yeah,
stuff gets
it
out of hand.
changes. Yeah, it changes the dynamic of a workplace. That's why, like, I tell people, like, I talk about my wife a lot on work. I let
Me
them
too.
know.
I was just about to bring that shit up. So
Yeah.
like in fire, it is few and far between. There is not a lot of women out there,
Hmm.
and the ones that are out there are 80% of the time they're burly softball bitches. It's not like the girls go out of your way to, they're just as dirty as you. Their feet stink too. There's nothing enticing about it. But every once in a while, you'll get a cute face and a good attitude. But I, like you were saying, I'm always making sure that whenever she's around and I'm talking, it's my wife this, my wife that. I talked to my wife yesterday. My wife.
Yeah.
I'm about to put that succubus voodoo on me, man.
Exactly. And if my wife ain't enough, my kids, my family. Like, we've been married this long. Like I'm every little thing I can, and it sucks because sometimes like it be bad. It's bad guy like dudes. It's a lot of married guys I know that they'll cheat on their wife and like they mess it up for the rest. Because you used to be able to say, "Oh no, I don't do that. I'm married." But nowadays it's just like, "Oh no, we know a lot of married guys that just step around." I'm trying to dispel that stigma because I've seen so much of it. Like, you guys come through and like I remember one guy. I don't know where he is, so I can tell this story. I remember he was talking about he's married and then he was an older guy, like 50s, 60s, and then he got this girl pregnant. Not girl, but she's a woman. It's like mid-20s. And he was talking about how he's like, I told them both they gotta decide what they want to do. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, whichever one wants to be with me. I was like, wait a minute. You're the one because he got the younger girl pregnant. I was like, you were the one that put these women in this situation. You need to decide what you need to do and cut it off. So it's just guys like that. Like now, it's like those guys when they get to talking like that. I'm like, I try to cut it short because I was like, I don't respect it because, like I told you earlier, my parents didn't get married, so I take marriage seriously. You know what I mean? So when you get to talking to me about all this stuff you do behind your white back, like that makes me upset. Like I'd rather you just keep that to yourself, so I don't feel some type of way towards you. And so when guys I hear guys start talking like that, I'm just like, let's go ahead and put it to rest because I don't want to hear it because I don't want you to think I approve of that. And like if you don't tell me, I don't feel no type of way. If I don't let you tell me, I don't feel no type of way about you.
Yeah.
That's between you, God, and your wife. If you tell me
And,
something and then go ahead.
likewise, because if you'll deceive the person you're supposed to you gave your loyalty for on paper for the rest of your life, you'll
Hmm.
deceive anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the way I look. I come from a broken home too. My parents
Hmm.
split my dad was really abusive. My parents split when shit, I don't even know. When I was 5, and then my dad completely jumped ship and took off when I was 12. So I didn't
Hmm.
see a lot of healthy marriages where I'm
Hmm.
from. And that was kind of the standard where I grew up. Like in the whole there was only one dad in the whole neighborhood I grew up in.
Hmm.
Like one dad that was still around. And interestingly enough, he's now my stepdad. My mom
Okay.
and him actually ended up getting together when I was like 18 years old. His son is like he's my brother now, but
Hmm.
we've been best friends since we were 6 7 years old.
Oh, that's pretty
And
cool.
he's the only yeah. It's weird how stuff works out like that.
Hmm.
So I didn't even get to see like a healthy relationship that way unless I was at friend's house, which is kind of
Yeah.
how why I really gravitated towards like the Mexican households
Hmm.
when I
Because they're
was
a
a
bit
kid.
family oriented.
Family unit was so strong. All my best friends are Mexican. I was basically raised by Mexican. I married a Mexican for that
Yeah.
for that reason. I kind of just gravitated towards it.
Hmm.
But when you catch dudes that are openly uh, bragging about
Hmm.
deceiving people like that, like it's a for me too. It's the same way. That's shit. That's grimy shit. That's one of the most grimy things you could do.
Hmm.
And I've done a lot. I've done a lot of grimy shit in my life, but
Yeah.
being unfaithful is not one of them. I don't think I could ever, because she's been there through
Yeah.
the jail, the rehab, the addiction,
Hmm.
the joblessness, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you're old and she's not too pretty no more, loyalty is all
Hmm.
you're gonna have anyway.
Hmm.
So that shit, that's a golden egg that you need to cherish. So I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah. Like and it was some guys like I know guys like newly married guys and they cheat. I'm like, why did you even get married? Like I've heard guys talk with it when they'll be engaged and still talking about doing this, and I'm like, why even get married? Because you eventually it's like getting in any kind of crime, you eventually gonna get caught. Like
Mhm.
nothing done in the dark stays hidden. It always comes to the light. It might not be soon, but the day is gonna come where what you've done in the dark will come to the light. And if I can talk to them beforehand, I'll try to give my 2 cents. Like, hey, you don't want to do that. And like I'm a Bible believer. I try not to Bible thump, but I'm gonna give you. You're gonna know where I come from on. And so like I have so much respect for the sanctity of marriage and for women because like I know what that betrayal can do. It's heartbreaking. So I don't want to see nobody else go through that, even if I don't know the person's spouse or whatever. So I'm always trying. Well, I tried my best. I wouldn't say I always. We fall short, but I tried to give my 2 cents and try to help folks because I shoot weddings too. So like that's the thing about it. Anything to do with marriage, I just love it. Like I told you, I'm working at this wedding view. I just like being around that type of environment. I love the whole. It don't even have to be the biggest wedding, but it's just something about that draws me towards it, and I respect everything about it so much that like there's been a couple weddings I shot. Years I've been shooting for about 7 8 years. That my photography career has outlasted their marriage, and it sucks. Like I'm not even in their marriage, but it's like, man, I shot that for y'all guys, and I still have some of the pictures on my pages, and it's just like, darn, where did y'all? I wonder myself. I don't try to get into too many people's business. I'm like, darn, where did y'all fall short? How did y'all let it go so quick? And it kind of hurts me a little bit, even though I'm not in their marriage. I'm like, man,
Yeah.
I don't, I don't know why I take it so personal, but it's just one of those things.
Well,
So
you should. It's a good thing to take personally.
yeah,
Like if that's obviously something you really feel deep down in your soul, and like it's probably hard for you to understand how they could disrespect the sanctity of marriage
yeah,
with like with the head that you have on your shoulders thinking about it like that. I think a lot of people rush into it.
hmm
I think I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is getting married before they live with that person
hmm
for a certain period of time,
yeah,
especially if it's one of those short relationships. Me and my wife have been together for 15 years.
hmm
Been married for fuck. I hope she don't watch this because I'm forgetting.
yeah. You sound like me. As you were talking, I was putting the numbers in my head.
Wait, it'll be 7 years. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it'll be 7 years. 7 years this October.
yeah,
And what I think a lot of people don't get, and I tell people, people young, I'm young. I keep telling myself I'm young.
yeah,
People younger than me that are getting married is like the little shit at the beginning of a relationship becomes significantly more important once
hmm
you're married. That's
hmm
the date nights, the
yeah,
flowers, the sweet little things. You know what I mean? All that lovey-dovey bullshit that
yeah,
you can kind of really get dull with, especially when you're just like trying to go work and provide and shit. Once
hmm
you become married, that's the kind of shit that actually keeps it
yeah,
together,
hmm
and it's not easy at all. Like anyone
uh,
who's been married is gonna tell you, like there's bad days, there's bad weeks,
yeah,
there's bad months, there's bad years,
hmm
there's bad fucking years. But the diligence to be committed to the agreement you made
yeah,
to God,
hmm
to be faithful and
yeah,
figure this shit out, regardless of how
yeah,
inconvenienced you feel by it.
hmm
I'm one of those people that like if when I make up my mind, that's it. I can't go back on that.
yeah.
So
Especially if I gave my word. Like if I said it out loud and I voiced it, it's like, all right, now I gotta stick to it because, like they say, word is bond. Like I want to be a man of my word. What they say, all you got is your word and your name. And I ain't trying to mess my word and my name up.
and if you're gonna flake on the biggest commitment
Hmm
outside of probably being a father,
Yeah,
um, like you're probably pretty flappable when it comes to anything
mm,
else.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It probably doesn't take a lot to chink the armor because
hmm
like you'll see people getting annulments like 72 hours,
Yeah.
married for 2 months. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's a subscription that you can cancel or
Yeah, it's
something.
weird.
And that's just it's always been wild to me too. Like I don't I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah. I think another thing too that people ignore. You sometimes we've all had friends. We've hung around, and then finally we had to cut ties because we've ignored those red flags. We've seen the red flags, and we've seen they may have said something or done something. And you like, I don't think this person is loyal to me as they should be if they consider them my friend. And I think we do that. Not we. Well, I think people. When I say we, I mean people in general do that in relationships. Like they ignore the red flags and maybe think, "Oh, I can. This sucks. This character trait I see in them sucks, but I can change them." Or they're like, maybe they'll change themselves, and they don't never really address it. They just let it fly in hopes that that person will change. But I think, like you said, they should slow down and rush into it. Like I'm not one of those people who say you should take 5 years. Like if you want to marry somebody about in 5 years. Like 5 years is a long time. Like I knew I wanted to marry my wife um before I proposed, but I just didn't know. I was still young, dumb, and I didn't know when I wanted to do it. But yeah, like don't ignore those red flags. Like I got a buddy of mine. He'll be on the pod one day too, where he finally after he got the divorce, he told me he was like, yeah, I ignored those red flags. I seen stuff in it that I should have either put to rest or basically broke up with her before I got into the relationship. But he got into it, and I think he said he felt like he could change her or save her. Sometimes people have that hero complex, and he felt like he could save her, have a change of ways, and it just didn't happen. And like those small things, they just got bigger. They were, like you said, they were more amplified, and to the point where it was just becoming destructive on both ends. He was being negative towards her, she was negative towards him, and then eventually ended up getting divorced. So anybody listening to this, I say if you see those red flags, address them immediately. And if the red flags are big enough, cut it off. Break it off. You can't change someone that doesn't want to change themselves. Like I even say that to women when they talk about like people like a man that cheats, there's nothing you can do to stop him from cheating. If he wants to cheat, he's gonna cheat. The only thing that can stop him from cheating is him not wanting to cheat. Like it's all up here. It's a mental thing, and it's probably not something you did. Most of the time it's probably not something you did. It's something within himself because like he could always break if he can't keep himself from cheating. Then the option to break up is always still there. But
Mm-hmm.
many people they try to stick within that thing, and not every man changes. Some men have been caught cheating and then they change, and some they just it's just they got that certain dog in them, and they just gonna be a dog forever.
It's that same mechanism that causes people to be like a kleptomaniac or you know what I mean? It's that same
Hmm.
type of but but their thing is manipulating and cheating on women. I know a
Hmm.
lot of people like that
Yeah.
are like that's the thrill for them is like
Yeah.
getting over on a and more often than not the type of women they seek out are the ones that are already kind of broken
Hmm.
because those type of women tend to gravitate towards those type of dudes.
Yeah.
You got to find you a girl that's got a good relationship with her dad. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that really makes. I got lucky because like I never had to deal with the broken home type.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of homies who did who popped out 5 kids by the time they were 22, 23, and now now they're in court. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it's
Yeah. Yeah.
now it's a rough go, and that for coming from a home where I went through that,
Yeah.
that'll ruin a child. That really will ruin a
Mhm.
child.
Yeah, and I don't want that for my kids. Like one of my sons, he said something the other day. I forgot what he said, but the divorce came up, and I was like, "Nah, we don't do that in this house." Like, nah, because I ain't got that like we don't need. I don't even bring that word up. Like some people they be playing them what ifs type. I'm like, nah, I don't even do that. Like I don't even want to draw that scenario up in my head. I don't even want to try to provide myself an out mentally. Like I don't even do the whole. Some people do the celebrity. I'm like, nah, I don't even want to do that. I don't want to add that because I know where it can go. It start
Yeah.
that's That's what it starts in your head, and then it leads to actions. And I'm like,
Now
you
those
got to
what
get.
if conversations are those
Hmm.
are all traps, man.
Yeah.
Because that's when women start banking complaints. That's what I call it. They bank
Hmm.
a complaint and they'll let it sit there and simmer, and then next time you fuck up, it's
Yeah.
you said you like so and so on that movie we were watching. It's
Hmm.
like, man, you can't do any you can't. I don't play around with none of that shit. Man.
Yeah. Like I don't even like saying like me and my wife. We've been together 15 years. We've been married 10. Like I don't even do the like I don't even say my exes no more. Like I'm like I ain't I see me and her we joke around but like you my first. She
Yeah,
went my but I was like no you my first. Like
yeah,
I don't you my first girlfriend you all that we've been together so long all the whatever happened before you it don't even matter no more. You my
yeah.
first
No,
girlfriend my first
that's real
love.
rap.
Yeah.
That's real rap. It's I think it's I know like if you're on social media, like there's so much chatter about like it's hard to find decent Western women,
Hmm.
and but I think a lot of the blame is probably on both sides of the street
Yeah.
with the as far as younger people, kids in their late teens, early 20s that are starting to get into the dating scene.
Hmm.
The A lot of talk about the incels, and then
Hmm.
women not wanting to be trad wives and stuff like that. But those people are out there
Hmm.
for sure, and just being willing to put yourself out there and not not kind of be sculpted by what social media is telling you about relationship. That's why I hate those fucking relationship podcasts,
Sure.
whether it's
Yeah.
Fresh and Fit or whatever,
Mhm,
where they just bring these bimbos on to make them look
mhm,
stupid. It's like, what purpose are you serving by
exactly.
doing that? Yeah, she's a dumb bimbo. She's a dumb bitch. That's great. We all knew that. You didn't need to bring her on with fucking thirty
Mhm,
thousand people watching and embarrass her
mhm.
to. I don't get it. Like I don't find that masculine at all from
Uh-uh.
like the red pill dating community who completely operate in the material world when it comes to
Yep.
like how they procure women.
Yeah.
Like ain't none of those guys know how to swing a hammer, couldn't build
Mm,
shit. Like it's all McLarens and
mhm.
vacations and shit like this. And it's like, bro, if this was a different time, I would ride into your villa on horseback and fucking take everything you own. Like there's no
Yeah.
masculinity in any of that shit.
Nah.
I can't stand those shows, man.
Nah, I don't watch 'em. Like, if anything, it'd be the Chris. Like at first, when I the one I did watch was Kevin Samuels. I thought he was a little more cultured. I think he went too far the way he talked sometimes with the women. Like I don't think you should, I ain't gonna act like I didn't used to. I used to call women all kinds of stuff out their name, but I no longer think you should call them the bees and
Yeah,
I still call a person male or female a hoe because that's the nature of what you're doing. It's just like when I say crack. If I call you a junkie, you being a junkie. When I call you a hoe, male or female, you being whorish. But I understand it more now. Like I didn't understand it when I was younger. I was just like, oh, she a hoe. But I've actually become friends with some of those girls, and you realize the stuff that a lot of them been through. Like I was like I'd be. It was times where I'd be on the phone and they sitting there talking about wanting to kill themselves and being I'm trying to make it clean, but they've been sexually assaulted
hmm
by a close maybe relative or friend of the family, and I was realizing, oh, they're like you said, they were broken. Like there's trauma there that has led to these decisions. Because I tell people, nobody wakes up and says, "Oh, I want to sleep with 20, 30 guys." Like it was a girl, one of the girls. She told me that one day, and I was like, dang, like I actually said it, and she was like, "You act like I wanted to do that." And in my as a guy, I'm thinking, as a young guy, I'm thinking, you didn't want to do that, but I understand now that like there's more going on psychologically than just I just want to sleep with a lot of people. And so I would know, like even you said how they go to talk to those bimbos. If they really knew women as much as they claim, most women, I ain't saying bimbo, but like I don't know. Some of them do change, but most women they sort of adjust to their partners. Like my wife's picked up characteristics she didn't have. Like I used to didn't think none of her jokes was funny. Now she makes jokes that are funny, and sometimes at my expense, and I'm just looking like, dang. I wish you never. And I said
Yeah.
like on Twitter uh last week. I was like, I gaslight her, as you know, in a joking man. I gaslight her, and just for laughs. And now she's starting to do it to me, and I was like, I don't like it. But a woman usually they adjust. They're malleable, and a lot of them adjust to the way their partners are. Like I know some so-called good girls, but once they got with them street dudes, then they started becoming street. It's so like a lot of those guys, they don't even think they understand. They just think a woman is how she is now, and some of them you can't change, but some of them they will change. And I would say be, because see the thing with me was I didn't have any game. Like I used to joke with my brother and I was like, I don't have any game. I don't know how to go up to I didn't know how to go up to a girl and be like, hey yo, blah blah blah, this and that. Let me get your number. But I was funny. Like I could so called command a room just from just telling jokes. Not like a comedian, but I got some humor to me.
Yeah.
And so that was how I was getting attention for the most part. And I listened. Like I told you, how people come to tell me random stories. Like if I saw like a home girl of mine crying, I'd be like, "Darn, what's going on?" And then I sit there listen, and so people would tell me stuff, and so that helped me. And another thing that also helped me was I didn't date. I didn't just like now with social media, they just find a girl they like on Instagram, like a picture, go into her DMs. I've never talked to anybody that I wasn't already friends with. Like if I was like me and my wife before we were talking, we were friends first. And any person I was with before that, like we were friends before we were dating. I don't think a lot of people they become friends with the person they're dating. They're just like, oh, I think you're attractive. Let's go on a date. You don't went on 2 or 3 dates. You don't had sex with this person. You don't really know them beside what they like. You don't. You need to know a person dislikes as much as you know their likes. And then after a while, they just break up, and it's just like that's it's you cheat yourself because one you done gave your body to another person. You can't that like I believe sex is more than just a physical thing. It's a spiritual thing component to it as well. So like the Bible says you become one flesh. Like it said, for this reason a man should leave his mother and father and cling to his wife and they shall become one flesh. So that's more than just a physical thing. That's a spiritual thing right there. And it tells you not to become one flesh with harlots because now you basically sleeping with every person she slept with. Like remember how they used to say that back in the day, and it's
Yeah.
like, but they was talking about it on the physical with SCDs. Like, no, I think there was a spiritual truth to that as well, and we're not educated on that. So a lot of people they just think, oh, I'm gonna get to know this person, but you're just trying to get in their pants. You just think they're attractive, but you don't know what's going on in their mindset. You don't know their family history. You don't know, you know, well, go back to family. You don't know what traumas they're bringing into it because that stuff, if it's not addressed now, it's gonna come up eventually.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And like, it doesn't give you enough time to like evaluate the metrics and boundaries of a person when you jump into shit like that. Like, it takes a
Mm-hmm.
long time to get to know somebody,
Mm-hmm.
and at the least bit for a relationship to work long term is like
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to find out where those breaking points are
Yeah.
and how to identify the red flags to
Mm-hmm.
when you see that you're getting close to that breaking point or you're crossing lines that you shouldn't be crossing
Yeah.
when it comes to that. Like, it can't just be all physical and or just emotional.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go out of your way to find common ground in activities that you can do together that kind of takes
Yeah.
you out of the relationship to be like
Mm-hmm.
friendly, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Whether it's like me and my lady like to go shooting.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that she wasn't fond of,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always been a gun dude. I've been
Yeah.
fucking around with guns. I'm out in the boonies, dude. It's what we do.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And but once I got her out there and she was planking with the AR, she's like, I love this shit. So that's just like a
Yeah.
nice little bonding thing we can do that kind of takes us out of like in the time that we're shooting. Like, that's just my homegirl. We're just
Mm-hmm.
out here planking, having a good time. And it's really important to have those different outlets to get away from just the physical and emotional aspect of a relationship. It's kind of like a you know what I mean? Like, it kind of brings it back down to level where you can
Yeah.
You know, it's like a reset. It's like a nice reset. So it's really
Mm-hmm.
important to have that kind of stuff, especially if you plan to make it long term. And
You
that's
want to
going
know?
to change over time too. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be constant. So it's
Yeah.
that kind of. It's going to change. You're going to have to find new ways to scratch that itch.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I would tell people too is like me for me, this maybe not be a 100% science, but I think your spouse should be your best friend. Like I tell people, my wife is my best friend. I said if I couldn't make her my best man in my wedding, I would have done it because like there's nobody like my wife in my life. Like I know my mom loves me, but just the love that I get from my wife, it's just different. It's just different, and she's been the one. She's probably other than my mom, she's probably seen me cry more than anybody, from friends passing away, stuff like that. She's seen me cry. I don't have no fear of being vulnerable around her. Like I'm not crying every goddamn day, but I'm able to tell her, stuff about myself. It's you know, she doesn't she's not the type to hold something over my head. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, man. It's just she's wonderful. I probably say that a lot. Man, hey, baby, if you can hear me, I don't even know if she can hear me right now, but I love you. You are wonderful. She knows
I know. I hope she can hear me too. But what you're saying, like if my lady held stuff over my head, I'd be 6 feet deep by now.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking about earlier, like going through all the rehabs
Hmm.
and addiction and shit. Like I don't know how she found the fucking fortitude to stand by my side through all the shit
Hmm.
if she did half the shit that I did, I don't know if I'd fucking be around.
Yeah,
Women are
exactly.
women are tougher than a $2 steak, but I'm telling you, like
They built
they
different.
really
Like
are.
their
Yeah.
strength is different. Like it's like I used to say that I was like she's just strong in a different area than I am because like you said it's stuff we went through. You like oh no like guys were like oh no you cut off. I'm not dealing with that. I'm not. And I think guys, not all those guys. There's some good guys. There's some guys with no flaws, maybe, but like a lot of times we'll drag them through the mud, and a lot of them stick it out, and it pays off for some. It doesn't pay off for anybody. Like I tell people, you're taking a risk. You're playing a game of averages. Like when you look up a certain type of person, yeah, you might find a good guy that's in the streets, but it's not likely. Like is you're just playing the game of average because like those guys they more low to the street, they're gonna go to jail, they gonna do all kinds of like wicked activities. So that stuff if they gonna you'll probably just end up just becoming another person to them. But that's not 100% true. But I just encourage more people to be wise. And yeah, you might find diamond in the rough, but it's not likely. That's basically what I'm saying.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it's that hard to be a solid dude nowadays
Yeah.
either, man. Like show up to work,
Hmm.
don't cheat,
Hmm.
make sure the freezer's full.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't see how it's so complicated nowadays that just being responsible, decent looking, and being able to provide is, a pretty accessible bar if
Hmm.
if you're a
Yeah.
young dude, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And then
You
communicate
know?
too, because I think a lot of people they from what I hear, like they assume their partner knows something. Like you hear guys at work complaining like, oh, they're not getting enough sex from their girl. Like, well, you voicing that to us, voice it to her. And that sometimes they be like, oh, I don't feel like I can, or they be like, she always comes up with some excuse. I was like, well, if it says something, she's tired. Like, let's say she says she's tired, then try to take some of that load off for her. You know what I mean? Like if she or like especially like with kids, having kids, they become a big they're more attached to the mother for the most part. And so they're gonna be on her like my kids I could be home with them all day, they won't say nothing. And then as soon as my wife get home, they're like, Mommy, I'm hungry. And she's like, darn, your dad was right here, so why you didn't say that? And I was like, hey, I just asked them 30 minutes ago they're hungry. They said no. I don't know why they do that. But so if you can take a little bit of load off of her, do that. And then like you have a problem whether man or woman, express that in a good manner. Like me and my wife, we've had disagreements. We don't argue though. Like I'm not with all the yelling and screaming. Like that's just not. It's never been me. Like I'll it's been time like I'll just go outside and go for a walk for a little bit, or I go to my car, put on some gospel music. I was like, I gotta talk to God because I'm frustrated right now, and so I'll go do that. I'll clear my head, and then I'll try to address stuff. And we've gotten better at that as time gone on. And but it's just one of those things, man. Communication is very important, and a lot of people don't do it, and they don't do it in a healthy manner.
And it's all about being like a compliment
Hmm.
to whatever shortcoming, and it's going to be a day-to-day thing. Like you got to pick
Yeah.
up slack some days you're going to be picking up more slack than you think you
Hmm.
need to,
Hmm.
but if you communicate that and you got a solid relationship, then she's going to be willing to return the favor on the days when you're burnt out and you don't got it. And
Yeah.
that's all it is. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to provide. Yeah, I'm going to expect that the house is clean and
Hmm.
we got food cooked and stuff like that. I like that traditional wife shit. That's tight.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know but stuff's gonna change sometimes, and I'm gonna have to
Hmm.
pick up some slack here. I'm gonna have to do
Yeah.
a load of laundry. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it just is what it is. Like, this is funny. So what was it? Yesterday, day before yesterday, I made a post about. I've been like out of politics. I don't really talk politics anymore. I just like I'm
Thank
honestly at the
goodness.
point where
I'm
I just
trying.
like I don't even give a fuck no more. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
We're doing good out here, but like everything's fine. But
Yeah.
all that Groiper stuff was going on, and I made a post saying that Groipers want to take the country back, but can't swing a hammer or change a tire.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that.
'Cause there are a lot of them. They're a bunch of penny loafer wearing bitch boys. That's
Hmm.
kind of the circle that goes there. I
Yeah.
shit you not, dude. 30 minutes later, we're driving up Interstate 5 to go get some sushi. But like I said, we're out in the middle of nowhere. So if I want to go to a good restaurant, if it's not barbecue, there's a lot of good local barbecue out here.
Yeah.
But if I want something like sushi or something, I got to go into the city like an hour north
Mm.
or an hour south. So we're driving up 5, and my wife's rear tire shreds.
Hmm.
Psh,
Yeah.
literally a couple hours, I make this post about Groipers not being able to change a
Yeah.
tire, like God's trying to fraud check me
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. He gonna
He's
test your
gonna
metal.
fraud check me right quick. It's like
Yeah.
the hottest part of the day. It's like 95 degrees. I've been working all day. I don't want to be out in the sun, but like my providing husband instinct,
Hmm.
boy, I jumped out the car like Clark Kent, got that tire
Yeah.
fucking whoop, 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 you know
Yeah.
what I mean? On the And then I dropped 600 on new tires day
Hmm.
after and stuff like that. But like I can see the satisfaction on her face when stuff
Yeah.
like that happens. You know what I mean? And I just looked at her and told her, I said, "Hey, just be." She's upset. We got to buy new tires. She blew a tire, but it's like just be grateful that I was here when
Hmm.
this happened. Like, this is what I do. This is what I'm for. This is you. You stay in the car with the AC on while I handle this shit right quick.
Hmm.
And I don't think that's a very high bar for modern man to clear nowadays, but it seems like it might be.
Yeah. Because everybody's clinging to. I think part of it is we cling to technology too much. Like even like you said, like the gropers. It's a lot of the so-called conservative personalities. I'm looking at. I'm like, you say some good stuff, but you look weak. Like you look like a dweeb. You act like a dweeb. Like you talk big. You can talk big behind the computer, but it's like you don't you don't really put fear in nobody's eyes. Not saying that I put people fear, but I don't I don't know. It's very what's the word? It's not feminine. It's just not. I don't know. I don't know. It's just not masculine. It's not very manly. It's like and
It's
so
like teenage. It's teenage boy. I don't know if
yeah,
there's a
yeah,
word to explain it, you
yeah,
know, but it's like there's like a lack of competency,
yeah.
you
Like I'm gonna throw
know.
this. I'm gonna throw this name out there. Like if I don't know how big. I know I got some people that like him, but it's like I'm like, how do y'all like Nick Fuentes? He acts like a petulant child, and I get he says some good stuff in there, but I was like, he acts like a child to me. I guess being 36, I've just passed. I don't know. I just think he should be able in a certain different way. And but a lot of people, even older than me, look up to, and I'm just looking. I don't see it.
It don't make a lot of sense to me either, too, and that's why that all that shit was popping off is because that 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 dorky dude Sneeko got Superman punched
Yeah.
at the APAC event, and ain't
Mm,
nobody do a damn thing
nah.
about it. And
Yeah, that's wild. Cause like I said earlier, you swing on me like if I ain't get you, my homeboy gonna get you. Like
yeah,
it ain't no oh darn you got hit and then it's just all good. And then the laugh he laughed at you.
did
Like
you
that's
catch Goldstein and HJ Space after that?
I
It
didn't get
was
to
it
hear
was
all of it.
on
I know
Tuesday
it.
when Sneeko
Yeah,
actually came in,
yeah. Now I remember I did
and
see that. He even acts like it. Like I listened to that and I was like, you act like a child. Like the way you responded, he was playing dumb. He was being snarky and accusing them of being snarky. And like I we call those feminine. Like he's. I'm trying to find a Christian way to say he had like a what's the B word? You know what I mean?
yeah,
He had
I hear you.
he B made like
Yeah,
that's the way he came off, and it's like you don't even realize these guys they really trying to put you up on game. They're trying to help you. They're trying to save you from yourself because they see the road you're going down, and they already know how the industry work. And you trying to get in, and they trying to tell you that it ain't what it is, but you sitting there feeling hurt, and you trying to play dumb, and it's just not it's not good.
and he's referenced the Hotep community before. He was playing straight stupid.
Yeah.
He's he knows he knows who HJ is. He knows who the
Hmm.
community is, and the he's Sneeko's not too far gone. You know, he's at a good stage at that age.
Hmm.
You know what I mean when it comes to getting into stuff. But I feel like when kids get into this social media realm too young, or
Hmm.
not even too young, but stay in it for too long,
Yeah.
they kind of lose sense of reality
Hmm.
when it comes to just everything else. Like that's the whole persona. Is like these kids are
Yeah.
raised on the internet nowadays, and there's no grit in that
Hmm.
movement. I guess that's the
No.
only way I could put it. The whole
Yeah.
America first, whether they're right about some shit and then super wrong about other shit, that's neither
Hmm.
here nor there. And honestly, I could give two fucks less because I don't care.
Hmm.
Like I said, I'm not really in that lane about caring about politics at, at this point after the last 8 years of insanity
Hmm.
that we've kind of went through as a nation.
Yeah.
Like you focus on your neighborhood and your community, and
Hmm.
outside of that, thinking that you got some sort of pull or influence on this this cluster bomb of American politics
Hmm.
is wishful thinking, to say the least. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And it's not gonna be changed. Like people think, oh, Trump is just gonna get ahead and he gonna say the word in 4 years. Man, these folks they done snuck into these institutions and infiltrate. It took them hundreds of years to get to where we are now. You think you just gonna? I don't even trust Trump that much. I gotta tell people like with politics. I was like, when you see me put on that MAGA hat, that's the same as me putting on a Falcons hat. I'm not on the team. I'm just cheering. That's just me cheering for some team that I like. But I was like, I don't have any stock in anything, and if they lose or win, my I still got to deal with my problems. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like I'm a Georgia fan. When they won the championship back to back, I was excited, but not too excited where I forgot my own line. I was like, well, that was pretty cool. The team I like won. All right, back to reality. I gotta feed my family. Put I gotta save some money, which I need work on that some more too. But that's neither here nor
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I think this election cycle, as far as like the way that prices and uh, insurance rates and that kind of stuff, like I do feel like this is a little bit more like close to home and
Yeah,
more
yeah,
like personable as far as like the outcome of stuff.
yeah.
But the dangerous part about that is that people are going to be more prone to being influenced
Yeah.
to for like their morale when it comes to a certain candidate.
Yeah.
And people say two wings, same bird all the time, and rightfully so. You know, there's a lot of truth in that. But for people that are still thinking that a president is going to save you, um, I some of these, bro, some of those MAGA pages are crazy.
Yeah.
Like the real diehard, and I do lean right.
Yeah.
I'm damn near a full blown anarchist, bro. Like
Yeah.
I think a private community can organize and facilitate a productive society better than a conglomerate like the U.S. government. But some of these, sometimes I'll bookmark them just for entertainment to go back to the page and see how crazy some of these people are. Because, like, please save me, Donald Trump. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like that. They're putting them on the cross. Yeah, they're putting them on the cross, and it's just like, God damn, dude. Like, don't you got a hobby or fucking build birdhouses or some shit? Do something, man. Like, do something. I don't know. And I kind of, people go through their phases when it comes to politics, and I feel like the dudes in the America First, they are young, and they're kind of in that age range where you kind of start to develop the foundation for where like your beliefs are going to be for the rest of your life. A lot of that stuff's going to change, you know. A lot of the topical shit's going to change, you know. You're gonna, the recipe's going to change a little bit. There's going to be some stuff mixed up in there as you learn stuff and acquire different knowledge and skills depending on like how you work and stuff like that. But for the most part, that's kind of where you get like your ideals set in. So I understand the eagerness, you know what I mean? But they'll start hitting their they'll start getting a little bit older and kind of fall out of touch with that, and then look back and be like, damn, dude, we were some dweebs.
I know. I look back on stuff I did. I thought was cool at the time. I'm like, you know how you had those random thoughts about what you did when you were young. I'm just like, oh, that was cringy. I can't believe I said that, or I can't believe I did that. I think one of another thing that hurts, like, I don't know, I would say it's not conducive. That they don't have any OGs. You know the you know how in the game, you know, you got your OGs, you got you got your young bucks, and the OGs are supposed to help keep the young bucks in line. I don't think they have any OG. It's like they're still young, so they don't have anybody with the, like, they got the energy, but they don't have the wisdom. So they're not getting discipled properly. So I see that a lot in the Christian spaces too, where a person will just become Christian and then they go on they start getting a podcast and everything's Christian, everything, and which I kind of don't mind, but it's just like you haven't been discipled yet. You don't even really, you have the zeal, but you don't have the wisdom yet. Because you'll see it happens so many times. Christian circles, you know, you get saved. It happened to me too, where you get saved and then all of a sudden everybody's a sinner, but you get like a self righteousness about yourself, and so it's like everybody's going here. You bad. This person's a false teacher. This person did this and that, and it's all condemnation. There's no love in any of it, and it's like you don't even get into debates with people like non-believers because you care about their souls. You get into it because you like to fight, and that was my problem. Like I just I liked the fight of it until, you know, I've gotten older, and I'm just like, I have to remember, you know, the goal. But I think that happens not only in Christianity. I think it happens in political movements, like say somebody like Candace Owens. She says some right things, but I'm like, you just became conservative. How are you at the forefront or at the head of this whole movement? You haven't been in the water long enough to, you know, to command people, and I think we just raise people up too quickly. I said we, but I don't consider myself conservative. I don't like that name. Just call me Christian. But like even when they try to do that, the like Kyle Rittenhouse, I'm like, man, let that young boy go live his life. If anything, you fund his college, but don't try to put that man out in front of people and have him speak and making him a freedom fighter, because he's not ready for it. He hasn't been properly trained. He doesn't have the wisdom, and like speaking of him personally, I don't think he's dumb. I just think he's simple. Like I just think he just knows a little bit, and so not everybody's meant to be a speaker. Like I said earlier, I don't even like speaking, but I can talk. I get that from my dad. Like I can talk for goddamn 3 hours. That's why my wife don't like going shopping with me because I'll talk in the goddamn grocery aisle for an hour, hour and a half if you let
Yeah, I run into a lot of people too, and I know
me.
I know everybody, bro. I know
Yeah.
everybody. Everybody knows me. So
Hmm.
yeah, my wife gets frustrated with me. That I think a lot of it is where we're at in American society today is like people will find a way to make something that's not supposed to be trendy
Hmm.
because it's
Like the nigga
like
girl.
yeah, but like it'll delve all the way from like materialistic shit that's
Hmm.
supposed to be trendy to diets to workouts, and
Hmm.
it's leached its way into religion and politics
Hmm.
because they have ran out of shit to trend. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? That's trending. That's everything's worried about what's trending. At some point, you're gonna run out of shit to trend.
Hmm.
So it's gonna kind of spider web into shit that's concrete. That's not supposed to
Hmm.
trend. It's supposed to be concrete, like solid stuff that people are supposed to hang their beliefs on. And it's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but that's what you're talking about. That's what it is. Kyle Rittenhouse is just gonna repeat with whoever defended him and sided with him,
Hmm.
he's going to repeat like a sponge, and that's fine, good for him. I hope he has a an honest and safe life, and I hope he's
Yeah.
unbothered and he can kind of get away from all this shit. But
Yeah.
it's all it's a trending driven society, and it's
Hmm.
unfortunate that the uh the want to make stuff trend has leached into shit like religion and stuff that matters. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, and it's disgusting. Like, cause that's what it was. It sort of pushed me away from the whole conservative movement. It's sort of the same thing with like you'll see the Christian circles too, where when you're new to it, you think it's the same with Christianity, same with conservative. Where you get into it, and you think everything about it, everybody, you think everybody who claims this name is that. So you think everybody who claims to be a Christian is going to behave like Christ. Not saying everybody's gonna be perfect, but you just expect certain stuff, or just conservatives. You expect them. You like, okay, you believe God, family, country, whatever. You're gonna behave this way, but then you get deep enough and uh, you realize, oh, these people act just. Some of these people act just like the people who they're talking against. So like the whole woke right thing that the hotel community came up with. It's just like, oh, you're just like the people you claim to hate. You just have different means that you're trying to get to, but you're not anti cancel culture. A lot of them relax their morals too. It's like I remember they're like they're pro trans now, and it's just like wait. How did we get here? When did we start accepting this? It pisses me off to I don't know when I hear conservatives call a trans person a she when they know it's a he. I'm like, wait a minute, that's like you're falling for the programming. I could I would be willing to call that person, like, let's say they want to change their name to Unicorn Butterfly. I call you Unicorn Butterfly before I call you a she when I know you're a man. You know what I mean? Because that's me denying reality by calling you a she. But if you change your name, people change their names all the time. I can kind of get with that. But you see them they're adopting the language of, I hate to make this political, but of the left, and it's weird, and I don't want to be a part. I don't want to be a part of that. You know what I mean?
And that's what I'm talking about. Is that the absolute like the need to make stuff trend
Hmm.
has gotten people away from like the actual values of the shit that they're supposed to represent.
Yeah.
You know, it's that hive mind. It doesn't matter if the beliefs are solid or you're concrete and you stand on that. If you can get more people to parrot the talking points that you talk, you'll break a lot of those rules that you supposedly represent by being Christian, conservative,
Mhm.
and they'll it's just to get the dub, man. To
Yeah,
troll the left, to troll the right, they'll do whatever it takes to. There ain't no shame in this political culture war we got going on.
yeah.
It's wild to see how thirsty people are, and that's what
Mhm.
it is. These
Yeah,
people are thirsty, and they don't have any. They're not. They're underwhelmed with their own existence and what they got
yeah.
going on in their own life, so they got to attach themselves to something to
Mhm.
which is another reason why I kind of just stay in our community and have always gravitated towards the Hotep community because it's a mixed bag of uh,
Yeah.
of religions,
Mhm.
political ideologies. Not so much, for the most part, it's a pretty conservative
Mhm.
type type space, but no one's looking for an attaboy or a pat on the back or a
Yeah.
will you be in my club type deal. We
Yeah,
just we
yeah.
just happen to we just happen to all rock with each other, and that's just what it is.
Mhm.
And we're not worried about validation from strangers on the internet.
Yeah, I think that's like when you spoke of validation. I think a lot of it too is like a lot. I look at a lot of these folks where I hear them talking. I'm like, you weren't cool. Like me, I, being cool ain't the end all be all or whatever, whatever. Uh, but I think when people are genuine, they're more cool. But like you can tell people online, it's a lot of these guys. I'm like, nobody really probably liked you or fooled with you in like high school, middle school, and that made you feel some way. So then when you got on the internet, you got a little power. You start acting different. You started acting funny. But it's sort of like Revenge of the Nerds type thing. Except
Yeah.
they got evil intentions. Uh, and I see that a lot as where like I would say I was cool, but it would like I didn't have to be nobody that I wasn't. I didn't have to fall into peer pressure. Like if I wanted to smoke weed, I did it because I wanted to. If I wanted to, I played sports. But like me, I could kick it with anybody. Like sometimes I kick it with my homeboys play football. Sometimes I kick it with the skateboarders. So I was one of the ones that liked anime when anime was not cool. Like so I did so when I got even like some what you call so-called popularity online, I didn't fiend for it because I had already had it. So when you never had something, it's like people when they get money and they lose it because they don't know how to handle it. I don't need to. I don't need to like go above and beyond. I don't have to lose my morals. I don't have to sacrifice who I am or go against my word just to please people, especially people I don't know. And I will have some of that imposter syndrome. Like me and you talked in the DMs. I was like, am I am I tripping? And I sent it to Chad. I screenshot sent to Chad, and he laughed.
That's funny because I was gonna screenshot it and send it to Chad.
I screenshot it. I I will have those moments because I just learned what the word what that phrase meant. Where sometimes I will down myself, and I'll feel like the better place. Where I was like, am I worthy enough to be here? Or like did I do enough to prove myself in because that's one thing that's tripping me out about my Twitter. Like I have 18K followers and I don't know how. And then like I be having like even though I don't want to be political, I keep having big names in political places follow me. And it makes me kind of like nervous. And like I'm in group chats with people, I respect people from like it's weird to me because I'm like, darn, these people are doing this. I'm just the guy. I'm just the guy, and then I'm like, oh, this like even I'm like, this guy fights fires. I'm like, these people are writing books. This person's a lawyer. This person's a doctor. Like, what business do I have to be, in these even I guess be in these circles. Sometimes I'll second guess myself like that, and I'm trying to get over it. But sometimes that snake will rear its head.
Oh yeah, no, I totally understand that. It's, I'm in group chats with people that they make me feel real stupid sometimes when I try to. And I'm a pretty articulate dude. I'm
Yeah,
smarter than I give myself credit for,
yeah,
and I can. I'm pretty well thought. I can make a point when I need to and stuff like
mhm,
that. But it's hard for me to be formal
yeah,
just cause I'm just a bumpkin. I'm just a knuckle
yeah,
dragger. You know what I mean? Like in the
yeah,
back of my head, that's just like where I've always felt that way. But I know
mhm,
what you're saying. Like when you start getting affiliated with like the political accounts and stuff, and it kind of I didn't like it. So
yeah,
I uh I don't know if you remember, but a couple years ago I had started putting out short like political commentator videos. They were like a couple minutes long. I had like dope edits. They were funny,
yeah,
and I was knocking them out. And I was doing like one every week, and they were getting a lot of views. And I started getting a lot of like, this is back before you could just be verified. This is like a
mhm,
verified account followed. You were like, oh shit. This is back when
yeah,
HJ got verified. We were all excited. We were like, oh
yeah,
dude, like now it's on. His pod's gonna
yeah,
blow up. You're gonna know who everybody is and shit.
mhm,
So I started getting followed by a lot of like conservative political commentator pages that were like reposting my shit,
mhm,
and I didn't like it.
yeah,
I didn't want to be like roped in with that. So I
yeah,
stopped making the videos. Even though I enjoyed doing it and stuff, like
mhm,
I was like, why am I doing this? Like why did I
mhm,
decide to start even as far as like making music, like the last I haven't released music for a while, but the last few things I released were not political
mhm,
at all. And when prior to that, it was like mostly political music, and I wanted to
yeah,
get like away from that because that's not me, bruh.
yeah,
Like I'm I grew up. I started rapping in Section 8 parking lot parties, like doing
yeah,
battle shit. The only
mhm,
white boy. Like that's
yeah,
just I was a real hip hop head, and I wanted to get
mhm,
away. So I told myself, it was like if I release anything, I'm not doing no more political shit because I don't want to be lumped in with that because I don't want to be used as like it's politics is such a messy game, and I don't want to be used as like a pawn in this culture
mhm,
war for you know you know what I'm saying. So
mhm,
that I totally understand what you're saying about that. And I don't know if that's like an imposter syndrome as much as it was like a realization of like that's not me. You
yeah,
know, I know for sure that's not me. So I'm gonna kind
yeah,
of step away from that and kind of just focus on the shit that makes me happy
yeah. I can relate to
instead of
that. I
trying
did.
to
Go ahead, go
get
ahead.
notoriety from other people.
Yeah, that's why I'm like I don't know if you remember. Will you follow me when I made the cheese post that blew up?
Yeah,
Like,
that's when I started following you, the
okay,
Cheese Lord. I
okay,
remember. Yeah.
yeah. So like, I love cheese, but it got to the point where everybody was tagging me in cheese, and I was like, I don't want to be known as the cheese guy. Like, I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into just being a cheese guy. So that's like, even I don't mind like people that's been following me for a while still bringing it up. Like, I still play on it, but I didn't want to be known as that. Same thing with the white people activity stuff. Like, I'll do it. I do it more sparingly now, just when I want to have fun, because I know my my followers will interact with it in a hilarious way. Occasionally, two or three real racist people show up, but they're not even following anybody. I don't know how they find me, but they don't follow anybody I follow or anything like that. They'll come through, and I just like, because they want to get a rise out of me, but I just joke back with them. But I'm like, like most of the white people activity stuff. I don't go and find those people. Tag me in them so much so
Oh
that
yeah,
most of the
yeah,
time,
yeah.
so much so that sometimes when they tag me, I'll just reshare that stuff. I won't even go. I don't even repost it as myself, even though I can repost it myself and get the engagement, because it becomes that's what they know me for. And like you said, you become apprehensive. Now I'm just like, I don't want that to be who I am. And that's why like that's another reason why started this podcast. And I was like, I don't want to really talk. I might bring up some so-called political topics. I may have a person here or there that's involved in politics, but if I wanted to, I could just go grab not every conservative, but I could just get a bunch of conservative people on here, and we just whine about the left all the time, but I want to deal with people that actually dealing with solutions. Maybe not in a political realm, but in like life, stuff that actually affects people, like whether it has to do with maybe family issues or buying property, or like somebody that wants to start a garden, stuff that's going to make impact with you, not necessarily immediately, but it's more closer to you than what can be done for you politically. And I still get a few like I had one news anchor lady. I think I just listened to her. She did a podcast with Adam Coleman, and she worked for Nixon and Reagan. And then I'm just like, why the heck did this person follow me of all people? And then I don't know if you know who Lily Tang. Like, it's some people that's running for Senate. I'm just like, what are y'all doing here? Because I'm gonna use
Yeah,
the word. I'm gonna use the word nigga. I'm gonna I'm gonna make jokes about black people, white people, Hispanics, because that's just how I grew up. And I'm like, I don't even know if y'all ready for this. And I do have this one thing I tweeted about. I don't know if you've seen it. It was maybe a couple months ago, where I was like, there's this thing I it's a internal uh, battle I have with myself, where like somebody of so-called importance will follow me, and then I'll get to thinking to myself, oh, I gotta change the way I talk. Oh, I got to be more professional. Then I'm just like, nah, I don't want to do that, especially not just for one person. I'm just like, I'm just gonna be myself, and if they unfollow me, they unfollow me. It just is what it is. Like, I don't have to try to be smarter than I am. I don't have to try to be funnier than I am. I'm just gonna be me, do what I like to do, and if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. It just is what it is.
yeah, and that's what you were saying about like if you just got a whole conservative panel and just bitched about the other side,
Yeah,
I bet your numbers would probably blow up a lot quicker than they would than you trying to do it this way. And I
yeah,
understand what you're saying because like if I would have just stuck to the uh, political rap wave
mm,
and really like put a lot of stuff out in those few years when I was putting out music,
yeah,
my following would probably be a lot bigger. You know what I
hmm,
mean? But like I've never been in. I started making music because I'm not going to therapy. You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's really the only. That's
yeah,
really the only reason I started messing. And I like to rap.
yeah,
I've always. But
yeah,
if I would have leaned into that, if I would have accepted that pigeonhole position,
hmm,
it probably would have been a lot easier to grow and be more notable on the interwebs and whatnot. But then like you get to a certain point eventually if you didn't do like if that really wasn't a part of you when you started doing it, you're gonna have
yeah,
to fraud check yourself at some point.
hmm,
So and like that's just a bridge I'm not willing to drive across because
yeah,
I was putting out like the political stuff before everybody else started putting out the political type
yeah,
rap music. You know what I mean? And
hmm,
now it's such a cringe fest when you hear the political rap music that
yeah,
it's just like whoa. And I've noticed other guys that were in that lane that start to get away from it too. Like Bryson's
hmm,
not doing a lot of political music anymore,
hmm,
which is great because like uh, Bryson's cool. Bryson's been nothing but cool to me every time I've
yeah.
interacted with him. But like that whole MAGA wave of MAGA rap was like some of the most garbage fucking music I've ever heard in my whole life.
Yeah, it I
And
like some of it, but yeah, like it's a lot of it. It's just like you said, it's just cringe, it's lame, there's not much thought to it. You just gotta be like, all right, you gotta put these certain talking points into it
yeah,
and put it, as long as you got it on beat, people gonna listen to
ain't got to be on beat, man. Some of these
it.
dudes beat be whooping their ass. Some of these
Mm,
dudes, and the thing because Bryson's a very talented musician, so I'm really
yeah,
happy he got away from that. He's
yeah,
posting reggae songs, all kinds of crazy stuff. I'm
hmm,
like, this dude's in his bag. Like he
yeah,
knows what he's doing for real.
hmm,
But the thing that frustrated me about like the whole political music wave that I'm glad is starting to die down now is that you'd have uh, a lot of woke right in like comment threads for whoever it be, Tom McDonald or whatever,
hmm.
and you'd get the I'm a 40-year-old soccer mom and this is good rap music and
Yeah,
it's just like come on lady like you don't you know what I mean
yeah,
you don't there's so much great conscious hip hop out there that flies under the radar that people don't know about but the only reason that uh, you know hopped on this like a damn lily pad is because it was like you were saying, it
Yeah,
had your talking points over a beat and they were making it
yeah.
rhyme. And
You,
it's
you had
just
they had itching ears, and the person told them what they wanted to hear. Like people always tell me, I joke about white rappers. I really don't like Eminem as much anymore because I just feel I don't in my mind most of his music didn't withstand the test of time. I believe great music can withstand the test of time. I think a lot in my eyes, just my perspective, I think it's dated. But
sober Eminem is horrible. I like sober Eminem.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I can't do it, bro. I can't do it.
yeah. I'm
The-
the same way because like I love
yeah.
him. Like I don't know if I still can do it. I don't listen to his music anymore, but I'm like at one point I could have rapped you that whole Eminem show front to back. Not
That's a
missing a
great
word.
album. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've never been a huge Eminem fan, but Eminem Show is a really
yeah.
classic rap album for sure.
Like I'll go ahead and tell you my favorite white rapper. I hate to put it like that, the category like, but it just is what it is. Is Paul Wall because every time I've heard him on a feature, he out rap in my personal opinion, he out raps everybody when he does a feature, and it's just the way he like I don't think like how some people they try to call people wiggers and all this. I was like, no, you can tell when a person's trying to quote unquote act black, and you can just tell when a person just grew up around black folks and that's just how they act. And I
Yeah,
feel like he's not trying to be black. He's just being Paul Wall, and he grew up around some black folks, and so I don't get him trying to put on. And so I like him, and like I said, he go hard on any verse, and
he
it's
was
like
one of the original like feature boogeymen
yeah, yeah,
back
it's
in the
like
day. Like you knew when it was a Paul Wall feature, like he was about
yeah,
to eat whoever they put on the song with him.
yeah.
Yeah,
Cause like even what was it? Drive Slow. That's a Kanye. So Kanye was one of my favorite rappers, and I like his verse. I like his verse on Drive Slow. Man, it's just like yeah, he
listening
sit
to
with it.
Paul Wall stuff when I was young really like made me realize that it doesn't really matter what you say, it's how
Hmm.
you say it.
Yeah, yeah,
Because ain't nothing ever been too intricate with anything that Paul Wall raps about. But
uh,
it's the cadence, it's the way he delivers it, it's the tone, and like
yeah,
that's the difference. That's what a lot of you could be nasty, you could have a nasty pen,
hmm,
but if you can't deliver it the right way, then it doesn't. It's gonna fall flat regardless. And that's why a lot of like really talented battle rappers, like some of the most talented battle rappers, can't
hmm,
make songs to
yeah.
save their
Say,
life because rapping and making a song aren't the same thing. And like
mm-mm,
if you're coming from a conscious place where you're really trying to like to deliver a message, you
hmm,
got to make it palatable to people. Because if you can't make it
yeah,
palatable to people, it doesn't matter what you're saying. So there's a fine line that you got to kind of tiptoe
yeah,
to get your point across and to technically like be good and then make it palatable for people to listen to because I'm a super nerd when it comes to writing my lyrics. Like
yeah,
I'm counting syllables. I'm not trying to rhyme word end rhyme. I'm trying to rhyme a whole sentence. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like that's just the
yeah,
way I've always written. And one thing I had to realize is that like, yeah, that's cool if that's what you're into, but like that's not as far as like selling music goes and like being
mm,
marketable. If it's not palatable, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? That's why a lot of like some of the dumbest music you ever heard is the stuff that's topping the charts
hmm,
because people can bop to it. But Paul
yeah,
Wall was one of the first guys where I really realized like, oh, like you can make great music and dumb stuff down and still make like really
hmm,
timeless music. You know, it's about the way that you say stuff, not what you say.
yeah. Like I got a homeboy. He does Christian rap. His name is Plain James. Simple, like he calls it trap theology. He says it's expressing the gospel in a way that's a person on the street can express. And he so all his stuff is simple, but it's catchy. And I remember I was riding in the car with a buddy of mine. He was still kind of out there in the world acting up, and I was listening to this one other rapper for like a week, and my homeboy we ride to work together. He never said nothing, but I put in Plain James, who was using like street lingo to express, his love for God and all this and that. And he finally opened up, started asking me about it. So it helped me understand. It's like you said, everybody can't pick up on all those big words. Like I like them, but I also know that's not most people. And like you said, you have to be able to know who your audience is. And I hate that they did dumb down some. I don't think they. Well, I kind of think that was orchestrated. We dumbed it down too much. I think a part of that was, I don't know. You know how people say Illuminati right out of this and that. I don't know who did it, but it's been done. It was orchestrated. But I tell you one thing. I don't even remember where I was going, but I tell you one thing I do respect most in a rapper is that they can tell a story. I've always had a thing for storytelling. So even if it's not a very complex story, I respect that the most. Because like you said, anybody can drop beat. Like I was telling somebody when what's his name? OJ, you remember OJ Juice Man?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You remember when he was real big? I was like, nah, he can't really rap, but it's the way he raps on the beat. I was like, that's the reason I'm listening to him. It's just like and he's like, hey, okay, like that's it's just hype. It gives you a certain energy. And I was like, yeah, no, he ain't really saying nothing, but it's just the way he spits on that beat that makes me want to listen to it.
That's why like top five lists are always like super frustrating to me
Yeah, yeah.
because music is subjective, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like I grew up on like Jedi mind tricks and shit. So
Mm-hmm.
like I was big into like the conspiracy Philly rap
Yeah,
and a lot of like Philly coke rap, a lot
yeah,
of street shit like that. So like my top five is a lot of people that nobody's ever really heard of, but
yeah,
those type of I mean you could do top five as far as like successful when it goes to like
yeah,
selling music. But when
yeah.
people talk like skill levels and stuff like that, I just find it kind of stupid because everybody's listening for something different.
Exactly. I gotta tell people, I was like, my favorite rapper was Lil Wayne, and they were like, that's how he, they got their girls. I was like, man, I just love the way he make a punchline out of something. It could be something simple, and I just that's just always who I always
That
gravitate.
was
And then
that was our era. So you
yeah,
graduated in like '06, '07?
'06, yeah,
Yeah. See? So you would have been a senior when I was a freshman.
yeah, and like I remember all
That
them
was the
mixtapes.
Yeah, that was the mixtape run for Wayne. It was out of
Yeah,
control, man. He was everybody's favorite rapper in high
and he was
school,
on
man.
every feature. Like if he was featured, I don't care whose song. It could have been on the country song. It could have been on a jazz song. If it was featured Lil Wayne, we were tuning it in. We were listening to it, and then we put one of them lines from them songs on our MySpace page or Facebook page, whatever.
Yeah, I remember MySpace, dude. You remember
Yeah,
Kazaa?
I heard
The
it, but I didn't have one. I didn't have it.
Kazaa and what was the other one? Back when they had the the DSL internet, where it took like 3 weeks to download a song,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
burning CDs and shit.
Mm-hmm. That's back when I had
Kids
that
don't
AO.
know. Man. I
I had
feel
that
like
AO.
I feel like I was the last. Well, I mean, we're within 4 years, so I would say
Yeah.
we're kind of like the last generation of young people before shit got really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Before shit
Yeah.
started to really, really get weird when it comes to. I kind of judge it by like cartoons, really. Like when you look
Yeah.
back at the cartoons that were out when we were kids, I
Yeah.
kind of think like kind of like right when SpongeBob came,
Yeah.
SpongeBob might have like slipped in there a little bit, but then after
Mm-hmm.
that, shit started getting real screwy
Yeah.
when it
And I agree.
with all uh, the gay innuendos and
Mm-hmm.
all the transgender type hidden messages and stuff like that. I feel like stuff got, and that's not to say that we didn't have like some cartoons that had a lot of hidden nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Like we were the Ren and Stimpy era, and that was
Mm-hmm.
one of the raunchiest cartoons to ever come on TV.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's when it like really exasperated was like right at the end of our generation because the kids that from the kids after I graduated, like that group of kids is like a completely there's probably not much difference culturally between when I was a freshman and you were a senior,
Mm-hmm.
that age group, you know what I mean? But then after
Yeah.
those 4 years, it seems like everything just got real weird, whether it's music, TV, culture. I think that's when shit really started to go off the rails.
Yeah, I remember even telling a buddy of mine. I think he's 33 now. Cause I was yeah, cause I was 20. Hold on, how old was I? It was around when I was about 22, 23, and he was 18, 19. We started working together. And I remember we used to always joke. We were like, "Hey, man, I think this is making the kids gay." Like we used just to always say that a lot, jokingly, but like a lot of truth said in jest because we would see the way a lot of the male character they'd be more feminine. It just was soft, and so that like it caught on. It's funny because I sent them a text message a couple months ago. I was like, "You remember how we used to joke about Disney making kids gay?" And then now, like it's so out in the open how they're influencing people to be gay. It's just ridiculous. Like even today, I was we were watching PBS at my brother's house, and they had this commercial. They didn't have it on the show, but on the commercial, it was two guys, and they had a adopted son, and they were talking about um how PBS is basically open. The programming is for it helps for families of all kinds. And I was like, that's not true because if you look at all the shows, there's always a mom and a dad. They still won't put a gay couple on there because they know there's gonna be backlash. You can put them on. You can still put them on a commercial, but nobody gay people don't even want to see that junk. As much as they cry about it, you put a pro gay move like they wasn't going out and drove to see Brokeback Mountain. Like they like I remember I remember that the dude from God's Not Dead. He did a movie about being gay. Like it came out in theaters, and I remember it did terribly because they don't want to see that. That's why they subvert and try to make already straight characters gay now, or
Yeah,
they'll try to slip it in through kid shows. You know, there was more of that. I think there was more of a healthy balance back when we were younger, but now it's just so overt. Like with Ren and Stimpy, they made jokes. If I'm not an adult, if my mind hasn't been corrupted by adulthood, I wouldn't have known, and I didn't know. But now that's just so blatant with the programming. The writing is not even as good, and it just sucks. It's not even putting out a good product. But
I think I think it's just about like getting the money at this point.
hmm
So whatever's gonna appeal to the most surface level people possible. I've been
hmm
curious about this. I wanted to. You're black, so I'm gonna ask you.
I'm
He's
the
like,
king of blacks.
I'm the king of whites. You guys follow us both. You know this already. Um, it seems like the the way that they try to make remake movies, but now cast minority actors
hmm
as a form of inclusion.
hmm
Doesn't that seem like a little bit more offensive to you?
It
Because it's like a hand me down. Like
yeah.
don't go out of your way to make a new fucking character that we can
hmm
make a whole series that we can run this character for 30, 40 years like we did with fucking Batman back in the day.
Yeah.
We're just gonna recycle one that we already have and just
hmm
make him black and then hope that they all just you know
hmm
what I mean? Because that's the way that
Yeah.
I feel. I was like, damn, that's kind of even worse, honestly.
Yeah, it's hand me down. They giving you hand me down. They giving you ish and telling you it's sugar. Like it's
Yeah.
and it's crazy too because like even speaking of the there's there's good black characters out there. Like it's weird. Like I had never heard of Black Panther. I didn't know Black Panther, but I remember Static Shock. I remember Steel. I remember Blade
Static
Wave.
Shock was I was gonna bring him up. Static Shock was great. And how the hell haven't they made new Spawn movies yet?
Exactly. Like and people have been asking about Spawn, and Michael J. White can still kick some butt. So you wouldn't even have to change the character. You can still use Michael J. White because he's still active. He looks young. You know, how some folks they don't seem to age.
They'd use Michael B. Jordan. I guarantee it. They'd use Michael B.
Man,
Jordan for Spawn.
like like the guy they have for Blade. In my opinion, he's too skinny. Like that's another thing too. They're not. You know how in the superheroes back in the day they be muscular. They have some tone to them. Now
Yeah.
they're trying to make them more nerdy, skinny, and they're in my not saying that skinny guys are effeminate, but they're making them soft. That's what I want to say. just to be short with it, and I don't like it.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it is like there's so much money that goes into making a movie,
Hmm.
is that they need to make sure that they cover their nut. So they're not gonna. They know that that Marvel remake is gonna cash no matter
Yeah,
what. They know people are gonna go see it, so at least they're gonna get everything paid for it. I'm talking like from their
yeah,
point of view. This might be either that or they're stupid, but it seems like that's
the
probably
money
why.
launder.
Yeah, yeah. But if it's probably a lot easier just to remake something that they know they're going to hit. I mean, that's probably why they made 10 Fast and Furious, and then the
Yeah.
only new movies that are coming out are just Marvel remakes and Avengers, because they know people are going to fill the. It's going to put butts in seats, and it's going to pay for itself. And the risk taking it, making a new character, and then possibly being at the whim of all the criticism that they didn't make the character black enough
Hmm.
or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
But I don't even know if that's automatically true. Like they're coming out with a Blue Beetle movie. I didn't even. I had to, when I heard about it, I was like, "Who the heck is Blue Beetle?" Like I didn't. I had never heard of this obscure character. I can't remember if it was Martin Lee, but I was like, why didn't you just like I think it was DC. It's like you have characters. You have the whole goddamn Justice League of characters you could still do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you didn't do Hawk Girl. You can still do Hawk Girl. People like
They'll
her.
do Hot Girl.
You did Wonder Woman. You didn't crash it enough to where it would. I think they could still make some money off Wonder Woman. You could always redo Batman. You could always redo Superman. Like people, they just don't get tired of those two. You kind of messed up Green Lantern, even though I thought it was enjoyable. It wasn't great. It was just I would have wanted them to do better in the sequel if they did a sequel. You have Martian Manhunter. You just have they really all right. The Flash, I think they had something going on there with Buddy. He's a pervert. He's a sexual deviant, so that messed them up with that. But there's a lot of characters and villains whose story you could still go off of, but you bring up this obscure character, and it's it who nobody knows, and then you have these certain people like, oh yeah, we everybody knows that this person is just like they're making Silver Surfer a woman in the next movie he appears in. And then, like, I just found this out on YouTube, and then they were like, "Oh, there was already a Silver Surfer one." Like, I shouldn't have to go deep dive into the lore to find a certain person. Like, I know a Silver Surfer, and I know he's always been a guy. You know what I mean? Why don't you just go with the one that more people know? Same thing with uh the Captain Marvel movie. The
Captain
Captain
Marvel,
Marvel,
yeah,
the Captain Marvel I knew was a man.
yeah.
I didn't know about the female version, and even the fans like her comics constantly the constantly does, but they keep trying to remake her, and nobody likes it. It's not working. I
You could take every X-Men character and do like an offshoot that focuses on that character
Mhm.
specifically, and you can make those movies for 12 years, and they'd all hit too.
Yeah, like a Gambit, bro. I've
Yeah,
been waiting for them to
Gambit.
get
Come
a.
on, man.
They haven't done him justice yet, and I'm just sitting there waiting. Like, man, y'all got to do more. That Gambit was my boy back in the day.
I was surprised that they didn't like that he wasn't more prevalent in the ones that they did make.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand it because he's always been a popular character. Like if you bring him up on Twitter or anything, people love Gambit. So I don't get that. Like you got like I think more people. I don't know. Just from my experience, I think more people hate Scott, Cyclops, than they do anybody else. But
Yeah,
he's.
Scott was like the dumb, arrogant dude. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know too many people whose favorite X-Men is Cyclops.
Cyclops. No, they like Beast, Wolverine, folks like that. Gambit. It doesn't make sense how they operate. It was the same way with I like me. I prefer DC over Marvel. I was never big into comics, but I know their material. I know a lot of their material, and I love DC's stuff more, and so I didn't understand why they rushed. I understood why they rushed their whole little universe. They were trying to catch up to Marvel in the Avengers, but I'm like, that's stupid because they had 10 years, and you're trying to catch up in two or three movies, and you're putting all your material, trying to squeeze out that material in those movies, and it's not going to work when you could have just slow rolled it because
Yeah,
They we were
they're gonna blow their wad. Well, they
yeah,
did. They did blow their wad. Yeah.
yeah. When you could have just slow rolled it, because Avengers Endgame was you if you pay attention, you already saw that they were, in my opinion, Marvel was stumbling when they tried to put out Captain Marvel out there when nobody she hadn't been involved in none of the story. And they just threw her out there, and then they trying to make her the greatest thing in the universe. Even and then they end up not even giving her a big role in the final movie. But you seen that they were stumbling, and you know that their series, the main focus was coming to an end. So once that was done, you would have had the 10 years that they put in. You would have had basically you'd have had that same amount of time, and people would have been more. I believe they would have been more open to outsiders would have been more open to looking at it because they were like, oh, well, Marvel did this thing, and I enjoyed that. So let me see what DC has, and I believe DC has better character. I believe there's more depth to their characters than Marvel, and they just screwed it up. It's just like I don't understand the logic behind it, even from financial standpoint. It's like you rushed you. I don't know because you could have, and then I don't know, man. And now I'm get pissed because I'm
Well,
like,
and they could have took advantage of all the technological advancements over that amount of time if they would
yeah,
have played the long game, because
yeah,
stuff changes quite a bit when
mm-hmm,
it comes to that. But that's what I'm saying is like they know that people are going to watch those movies,
mm-hmm,
so they just got to make something presentable enough to where it can get its 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, and then
mm-hmm.
everybody gets paid, and then on to the next one.
Yeah,
And
sort
it's
of like
unfortunate they don't make movies like. When was the last time we had like a Goodfellas or something like that? You know what I mean? They
yeah,
don't
it
make
ain't.
movies with storylines like
Mm.
they used to at all. I'm trying to think of the last more recent really good movie that I watched that had a really good like storyline, and I can't. I really can't.
And I better say the best. I would probably say is Infinity War. Like I didn't even like Endgame. I mean, I it was decent, but I felt like all of Infinity War, like the way they handled that movie was pretty good. Cause even considering the Captain Marvel misstep. But like you said, because I usually judge by comedies. I'm like, darn, what's the last like really really good comedy?
Step Brothers,
Yeah, like Step Brothers, Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder. That was a run though, man. Those years they were putting out those like Talladega Nights
Yeah,
and the Campaign, Step Brothers. Have you seen the Campaign with
I haven't.
Zach Galifianakis and Will Ferrell?
I haven't. I haven't.
I think it's one of the most underrated Will Ferrell of those like
Yeah.
slapstick comedies that they did during
Mhm.
that era. I've watched it 100 times, and I still laugh my
Yeah.
ass off every time I watch it.
I tell you what's funny. It's raunchy. I try to stay away from the raunchy stuff, but sometimes I get caught up in it. Horrible Bosses. I
It
thought
was
those two
good,
were.
yeah.
Yeah, those had me laughing. But shoot, I'm trying to think. I didn't watch what's Oppenheimer. I didn't watch that.
I
I
haven't
don't know if
watched
it's
it.
any
Yeah,
good.
I haven't watched it either. I
I've
haven't
been most
watched it either.
I've been mostly on anime because just like I feel like they're still in there. Even though it's been out for a while, I still feel like they're really hitting their stride to where they can make. I don't know. So that's I think they haven't reached. I don't think they've reached their peak yet as far as storytelling. One thing I think, like you remember how we were talking about the '90s movies, '80 movies, '70 movies. One thing I liked about those movies were it's they would have a concept. I believe they would have a concept, and they would just go with it. Some movies bombed, some movies they did well. So there was more imagination put to them. I feel like that's how it is with anime. A lot of anime is just like, all right, we have these genres, and then we have this. You know, you have your tropes, and then people just try to come up with different ways to um, tell their own stories using those tropes. And some of them good, some of them bomb, and so that's why I've been gravitating more towards anime because of the storytelling.
Yeah,
And I know some people get they the cultural aspects of, because they I get why they're pushed off, because I think the Japanese, they marry young, like 15, like 14. So you'll see scenes with not in everyone, but in some shows where a high school girl, and we're looking like, hey, what the heck's going on here? But in their society, it's acceptable. And so, like, I tell people, you got to judge each show by its own merits. There's certain shows, like it was one show I was recently watching. It got a little too loose with the fan material, what we call fan service, and I was just like, all right, I'm done. I don't care for it. But if you got a good story, I'll stick with it, and that's what keeps me going around. You just gotta. It's just like any other cartoon, any other show. You just got to judge every show on their own merits. You can't just take the whole genre, because it's not, every anime ain't the same. Just
No,
like every
not even close. And that's why like DBZ, I posted earlier, DBZ is going to stand the test of time,
yeah.
because what they did do is they took every offshoot possible, made
Mhm.
different storylines,
Mhm.
changed characters, but still kept the characters the way they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like um, I was watching Cell Saga today, and I ended up
Yeah.
watching like what did I watch, like 9 episodes.
Yeah. You're good.
I was just working out in my living room, hanging out with my dog, watching, and that's something I've. Dragon Ball Z raised us where I'm from.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I remember, I remember fighting to get off the bus so we could run home, because this is
Yeah.
back when you didn't have no DVR or
Mm.
any of that, and you had to get back by Toonami because Toonami was
Mhm.
coming on, and you couldn't
Yeah.
miss. You could you and that's you couldn't skip an episode where they're just Gohan's powering up the whole episode. You had
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
sit there. The
Yes. Yeah.
anticipation was wild because Gohan
Mhm.
just powered up for 3 episodes for
Yeah.
a 5 minute fight scene, but you
Yeah.
were just so hyped to watch it. And that's, that I understand, like because I have that connection to Dragon Ball Z too that a lot of people have, and like my wife doesn't understand it. Like she
No.
doesn't like, how are you watching this? You're a 30-year-old man. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't get the nostalgia that I feel in my
Mhm.
heart when I watch this. Like you really don't
Mhm.
understand it, and I can't explain it to you. But it's one of those, like, one of those few childhood memories that I look back on. I'm like, damn, dude, if I could go back there and live in that time forever, I would.
Yeah. And then another thing too, I like about a lot of anime. It's the same thing with our hero stuff. We came with, like, with your Batmans and Supermans. There's moral. There's most of them. They're not just goofy hijinks. It's a story, like with Goku. He likes to fight, but it's also about surpassing your limits. He reaches the limit where he's almost getting beat and killed, and then he surpasses it. He surpasses it. He goes from regular Goku, then he gets the Kaioken, then he learns the Spirit Bomb, then he freaking learns the Super Saiyan 2. But I would say even the best character, in my personal opinion, the best character on the show isn't even Goku. I love Goku. I think it's Vegeta. Vegeta's the one that gets the most character growth through the whole show, because he
Yeah,
goes from a psycho murderer, now he's a freaking family man, and he's kind of harsh, but he loves his wife, and even now he's growing to like Goku, like, and he respects him more. And then, like, he never lets go of that I'm the prince of all it's just like his saying pride, like, it's respectable if you just see him as more than just more than a cartoon. Like, it's more to it if you're willing to look into it. And I know people probably like, man, they're fawning over anime. I'm like, it's deeper than
yeah.
that. Like, it's
And
deeper than rap. It's
it's deeper
deeper
than
than
rap, and that what people don't get is like that was for a lot of kids that came from like maybe homes that weren't too united.
that. Hmm.
It's like Dragon Ball Z was all about community,
Hmm.
unity, helping
Friendship.
people. Yeah, friendship,
Hmm.
diligence. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like picking up slack for people when
yeah.
that kind of thing. Like
Protecting the weak and stuff. Yeah.
the stuff I took away from that as a kid, it like really stuck with me. So like I hate to nerd out, but I'm gonna nerd
Yeah.
out because
Go ahead.
that's just like it did wonders for me and my relationships with the friends that I watched it with at the
Hmm.
time, because where we were coming from. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? I don't think there's a more impactful cartoon from my childhood. Now that I think about it, not even close. And I
Not
think
the
that's a pretty common, uh, probably a pretty common occurrence between people in our age bracket too. Is like
mhm.
this. That's kind of like the DBZ era. A lot of people would probably say something similar.
Yeah, like it. I think that's another thing too. Like I, a lot of I hate to be sound old, but a lot of the newer cartoons they're just dumb. Like they like I said, it's just hijinks and the characters are dumb and they're doing dumb stuff. And it's like even when, like I tell people, I was like even when we were watching Doug or Rugrats, I was like I had not read the Bible, but I learned about Moses through Rugrats. Like I was able to learn about stuff like that. Like they were actually putting messages in it. Or Arthur, you're gonna either learn to read, you're gonna learn about friendship. That it wasn't just like I'm bouncing all over the place, but I'm now even Transformers or Captain Planet. There was a message in there somewhere.
Yeah,
It wasn't just about the action or the characters. Although those were cool too. They were trying to teach kids something that would actually help them in their day to day life. And or even like we brought up earlier, Static Shock. I love Static Shock. Nowadays, I guess the right way they would call it woke because now they address stuff like racism, gang violence. What's some more stuff they address? I'm trying to think. Those because I'm remembering where his friend's dad ended up being racist, and I know it was about the gang stuff. There's some more stuff in there that's not coming to mind, but they didn't do it in a. They did it in a way that anybody could relate. You didn't have to be black to relate to Virgil or whoever. You just had to be open minded and be willing to let go of your pride. It's just like, oh, okay, then these people they may look different or they may be from a different area, but they're a lot of them are just regular people and they just want to survive too. And then a lot of times, uh, their circumstances has helped them. Their circumstance, like nobody just woke up wanting to be evil. Their circumstances affected them in a way to where they felt like the need to do this. And even though their choices were wrong, we're not excusing the choices. This is how they got to that point. You know what I mean?
yeah. And like you brought up Doug, and
Yeah.
Doug, like the whole premise to the show was Doug doing stupid stuff, making
Hmm.
mistakes,
Hmm.
and then journaling about it
Yeah.
and reflecting on it to become a better person. And like
Hmm.
when you look back on it in hindsight, you're like, damn, dude, like they got that right. They knocked
Yeah.
that out of the park, you know? I thought about it just when you brought it up. I'm like, dude,
Mhm.
the whole show was about him reflecting on becoming better and
Mhm.
writing down where he made mistakes. And
Yeah.
so like that's you don't see that kind of stuff in any. My nephew was he'd come over and he was real hooked on like a lot of these newer cartoons. And I was watching one with him one day and there was some like weird innuendo type shit and I was like,
Mhm.
nah, we're not doing this, dude. So I ended up getting hooked on Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. Same.
And
Same
lucky
with my kids.
he fell in love with it, and like now he's
Mhm.
just off the wall with Tom and Jerry. So I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's how you know that those that they got that stuff right.
It was stand. It was stand. Great art, no matter the whatever you. It withstands the test of time. Like great music. You can good classical music. It don't matter if it was created in the 1700s, 1800s. It's still good today. Same thing with paintings. I believe it's the same thing with a medium like you said, the cartoons with Tom and Jerry. My kids they like some Tom and Jerry. They like some Scooby Doo. That stuff in what those were like 90s, 60s. Like that's 60 years
It's a
of
long time
material.
ago.
Yeah.
You can almost like look at cartoons and the trajectory of it as like the pendulum of culture
Hmm.
over the years, like how racist and crazy the early like Mickey Mouse stuff was
Yeah.
and the Disney stuff,
Hmm.
and then it comes back sort of middle with like the more wholesome type stuff, and now
Yeah.
everything's just uber gay. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's gotten so far. Hopefully, it starts. People use that pendulum trope a lot, and hopefully, it does start to drift back to You know, because like I was saying, like a lot of kids are raised by the cartoons that they watched when they're,
Mm-hmm.
you know, at their, especially if their parents aren't too involved to like watch what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what I saw on like, I don't even know, is it, do they still have Nick Jr.? Is it still Nick Jr., Nickelodeon and Nick
I
Jr.?
think they do, but it's not like how it used to be Nick Jr. Then it'll go into Nickelodeon. I think Nick
Yeah,
Jr. is its own channel now.
is this on channel now?
I
Do you
believe
remember?
so.
You remember Face?
Yeah, I remember Face.
Yeah, and then Face would just he just give you some positive reinforcement and tell
Hmm.
you to like be a good person and shit
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, on the I'd seen a commercial. I think it was might have been during the Super Bowl where it was a drag queen Nick Jr. commercial. I don't know if you remember the specific commercial,
Uh-uh.
but I was just like, damn, dude, we came a long way from Face
Hmm.
to
I,
a,
I was
a drag queen.
I was watching. No, I wasn't actually watching it. I can't remember if it was my son or my niece and nephew. But anyway, it was early in the morning, 7, 8, and I just put on the cartoons and let them. It was Bubble Guppies, and I remember I was on my phone just scrolling while they were playing on the floor, watching TV, whatever. And I remember hearing one of the characters say, "Life's a drag," and then another person said, "Tell me about it." But I was like, "That sounds like a man." I looked up, and it was a goddamn trans fish thing, and I was just like, "Y'all really put a trans person?" And then I think they even in the episode there was a parade. I was like, "Y'all had a trans person in a gay parade." I was like, "This is no." The gay parade was in Blue's Clues, but I'm just like, bro, let these kids be kids, bro. Like they don't need to experience none of that stuff. Like they just need to know about sharing the alphabet, how to count, how to treat people. Just basically what we grew up with, you know? Just that basic stuff. But no, they want to push this stuff on kids, and it's disgusting.
And that's when you see the argument from the people that support that kind of stuff, like when they're talking about the rallies or whatever, like the people will defend it would be like, why do you care so much? And it's like, I didn't until you started beating these kids over the head with it.
Hmm.
You know, what person in their right mind would be okay with that?
Exactly.
I don't care if it's all hetero innuendos. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like all that stuff just needs to be, like you said, just let the kids touch grass and watch cartoons that aren't just straight grooming material, because that's
yeah.
really what it is.
Hmm.
And you see it affecting kids too,
Hmm.
like the way that they're interacting with each. What's cool though is like, so we don't have kids yet, and hopefully we pop a couple out here in the next couple of years. But um, I do some uh, youth boxing coach.
Okay.
I'm a youth boxing coach at our local boxing gym. I don't know why that sentence was so hard to get out. Maybe I felt like I
Big
just had a
words.
yeah, I felt like I just had a stroke. But I'm interacting with kids in the community, and a lot of these
Mhm.
um, when I am down there coaching, like some of these kids are from broken homes. Some of these kids don't have parents that really care. Some of parents
Yeah.
use the facility as a baby as a daycare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what's cool about these small local communities is that somehow it slipped through the cracks. Is that they were going to set up a drag time story hour in
Oh,
this
snap.
small little bumpkin rural town, and it got the axe immediately. I don't know what happened, if
Yeah.
a kid like texted their parents, but these parents showed up in droves. It was like, no, 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 no. We're
Hmm.
not doing that. We're not doing that shit here. I don't understand how it got to that point to where they even thought it would be a good idea, because people out here are pretty like, you know, if you see the bumper stickers and shit, like
Yeah.
who how people stand up here. That's why I was saying, like, this isn't even California. If you came up here, you'd be like, bro,
Yeah.
what the hell, am I in West Virginia? Because it's kind of what it's like up here. But I'm glad that small town moxie is still good
Yeah.
and well around here.
That's what I fear about my town now, because it's more conservative. Excuse me. But I didn't hear a friend of mine, a close friend of mine. She told me, I think a year or two ago, they tried to include like a gay section in or with some drag queens into just like a regular. I think it was Christmas. I don't want to. I hope I'm not misquoting, but it was one of those things, and I was like, what? Like, did anybody say nothing? Like I didn't, because I hadn't even heard anything about it. But I noticed our town's growing, and it's kind of becoming like Nashville. Like I tell them, I was like, they're trying to turn this into a little Nashville, which I like Nashville, but you know, Nashville's big on, like when I was there in Nashville, two things I saw: a bunch of a bunch of people, a bunch of gay folks, and a bunch of bridesmaids. It was just like that's all I really saw. Like on they're on those trolleys riding around.
Yeah.
That's all I saw. Well, that was like the big thing. You know, you got people, doing other stuff, but that was the main thing I saw. And I don't want that sexual degeneracy propagated like that, especially with the kids around. Like like you said, it used to be like, why do you care what somebody does in their bedroom? And then it came out of it came out of the closet, out of the bedroom, into the streets, and
Yeah.
it's
And now
wild.
and now it's why do you care what your kids know that I do in my bedroom? It's like,
Yeah.
hey yo, what do you mean?
Yeah. And you remember that? Oh, that's a slippery slope fallacy. That slippery slope wasn't no fallacy. It was
Hey,
spot
they
on.
put they put dish soap on that slope, dude. That motherfucker took off.
Mhm.
That's wild.
But like you said, the parents came in and put a stop to it. A lot of people are they're too scared. You can't be too scared. They're scared. Oh, my job. This. Oh my. But I might not get some money. And I hate to hear it from like people that like, you believe in God, don't you? You don't think God gonna look out for you if you lose a job? You like it's they. I'm like, you don't really have faith in God. You have faith in your job and in your boss. So and I hear a lot of them like, uh, you hear it a lot now where people make excuses for Trump. You know, like I'm like, y'all are conservative. Why are y'all not giving him like? I don't. Let's go to the abortion topic. He's more abortion and more pro-choice, we'll say. But you'll hear them make excuses for Trump just so they can win elections. I'm like, y'all are sacrificing your morals to win an election. Like it's disgusting in my eyes, because especially if you claim to be a certain, you claim like I'll say you claim to be Christian and you believe that it's murder. How can you be okay with someone? How can you be okay with that stance and live with yourself? Like you think I hate it. I hate. I ain't mean the Bible thump, but it's just like I'll use myself as an example. I believe abortion is murder. I do believe you can, if you had an abortion, I believe that's a terrible thing. You can be forgiven for it, whatever. But to advocate for or to like look the other way for financial gain or for political gain, I think that's evil. And to say and just to look at it like, well, I don't think it's like sinning just because God forgives. That's not right. You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's the lesser of two evils
Yeah,
concept, where you're willing to concede on stuff that you thought you were solid on
yeah,
to get some, and that's why I just exercise my right to not participate, because ain't nobody really 10 toes down on the values that I support. You know what
yeah,
I mean? So I can't in good faith support anybody.
yeah.
You
Nah.
know that if you're supporting the lesser of two evils is the third evil. I forgot who
And
said that. Someone way smarter than me said that, and I can't
yeah,
remember who it is. I wish I could remember who said that so I
yeah.
could give them credit. But see, I'm not that smart. What I do is just remember what smarter people say and repeat it.
Sound like me. Hey, it gotta get to the mess some way.
Yeah, I'm
'Cause
not smart. I just got a good memory.
yeah. And I would say I respect it more. Like people used, like if I make a decision, I'm willing to go down with my decision. I'm like, well, I'll deal with the consequences of it. Just the same reason I don't have an anonymous, like my face is my profile picture. I don't use my name as much. Like this is a pet name. not a pet name, a nickname. Like it's two of my nicknames that my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family call me. I just put them together as I came up with Duke Lucas. But like if you have a conviction about something, let's say for example, I had a buddy on Twitter. He was mad at his friend because his friend chose not to get the shot and ended up down with COVID. I was like, I respect that more because you didn't believe in it and you went down with your decision. Like you didn't compromise. Like, because you really, especially now, you don't know what that shot could have did. You don't we don't know. But the fact that he had a conviction and he respected enough unto death, I respect it. You know what I mean? But
Well,
it
that's the
just is
difference
what it
between faith and hope,
is.
right there. Faith supersedes hope. When you were talking
Hmm.
about faith earlier, I wanted to touch on that. Like,
Yeah.
so the situation you're in right now, if I remember correctly, the facility you were working at
Yeah.
got closed down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I've had that happen, being in lumber mills and stuff like that. Shit happens. I remember getting they closed the facility the week before Thanksgiving with like no prior notice.
Yeah.
They blown smoke up our ass for the last few months, saying the
Yeah.
production was good and everything was cool, you know. And we come back after right before Thanksgiving break, and like everything, all the equipment's locked out and everything. And we're like, what the hell is going on, man? And we get our severance check for the month or whatever, and they just send us on our way. But in that moment, it was easy to see who had the difference of who had hope and who had faith. The people who had
Mm-hmm.
faith were like, all right, it's cool, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like I'll be straight. The people who had hope were chomping at the bit. They were worried. They had
Mm-hmm.
tons of anxiety, and that's the difference between the two things. Is like you have faith, you don't have to hope.
Mm-hmm.
It just is what it is. You might lose morale, and that's
Yeah.
perfectly fine, and that's a human condition that you're gonna
Yeah.
expect in a situation like that. But when you have faith, shit just seems to work out when it needs to work out. And
Yeah.
the worst thing you can do is anticipate it not going well, because
Mm-hmm.
that anticipation will kill you. And then when it does work out, you wasted all that time anticipating
Mm-hmm.
a negative result that didn't even happen.
Yeah.
You
I
know, and
remember
I think that's where a lot of people get tied up with conceding on their moral positions, because they think if they do, they hope stuff will get better,
mm-hmm.
when there's people who just have faith that stuff will get better regardless of who's in office, regardless of what
Mm-hmm.
political mess we got going on. And that's the time I'm on anyway. If
Mm-hmm.
that, you know what I mean? That seems kind of like what the point you're making is too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because even like I had talked to my brother. I went to my brother's house today, and he was telling me because he's a like we both got a somewhat of an entrepreneurial spirit. Like I told my wife earlier today, I was like, the thought of having to go work in a warehouse, it makes me feel depressed because I know my calling is greater than what I'm doing. And for so long, I put it off. So not only is it greater than what I'm doing, like I've been putting it off, and it's like, darn, how much longer I have to wait? But I was telling him because he's the same way where he's doing these jobs he's not happy with, and he's trying to get his stuff off the ground, but he knows that like it's gonna come in time, and like you say, you get to, I don't want to say doubt, but it's just like a time when you got to run the guy. Like I even told him from my own perspective, I'm just like, God, I know you can do it. You've always shown me you can do it. Like me and my family, we haven't started. It's just, Lord, I'm feeling impatient. Help, like one guy said in the Bible. He said, Lord, I believe. Help my unbelief. So I'm like that. I'm just like, hey, Lord, help me with my unbelief, but I know because you shown me that you could do it. You shown me that you've been faithful to me, so I'm gonna try to be faithful to you. And like I don't have a job right now. I've been doing these side jobs, and I worry sometimes, but it's like forget I can't forget my calling. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I feel like I'm called to do, and then I believe I believe it's gonna work out. That's why I don't try to be angry or none of that. Try not to be too down because I made it this far. I've been through a lot worse,
Yeah, and
and
that's a good mindset to have, because like one thing I try to tell myself when shit's not going too well is that, like, even when stuff's not okay,
mm-hmm,
everything's okay.
Yeah.
Like what are you comparing it to? What kind of what kind of turmoil are you comparing your situation right now to?
Hmm.
Because stuff could always be a lot worse than it is, and even when
Yeah.
stuff's not okay, it's gonna be okay regardless. And at right now, like just making yourself available for an
Hmm.
opportunity, it's like that's the only thing you really need to focus on. Because how I got into into roofing houses was a similar thing. I didn't plan on getting into roofing at all, but in between fires last year, a mutual friend needed some help with the contractor he was working with.
Hmm.
And it was right before fire season had started. And the way fire season works is like you work a year's worth of hours of 40-hour weeks in like 5 6 months. You know what
Oh
I mean?
shoot.
You're
Yeah.
pulling 100+ hour weeks for 6 months straight.
Yeah.
So if you know how to manage your money, you could stretch that to the next fire season. But stuff's gonna
Mm.
get a little bit tight, you know. So it was
Yeah.
right before fire season, and I was like, I'm getting a little light. I don't make
Mm.
anything coaching. I do that for free. I do
Yeah.
that for the community. I don't make any money doing that. And I was like, screw it, dude. I'll go. I'm good with tools. I grew up working on stuff. I could figure this out. And
Hmm.
the guy was offering a paid training course to become a roofer.
Hmm.
So I went at it and got decent really quick. And then in between fires, even though I wanted to come home and chill on my few days off, if they had a
Hmm.
project going on, I'd run out there and help them. And that just showed the guy like, oh, dude, like this guy's worth his salt. You know,
Hmm.
he just he just pulled 300 hours in 2 weeks, and he's out here helping
Yeah.
me with this roof. And
Yeah.
if I hadn't have put myself in that position to be available
Yeah.
when I hurt my knee and made the decision to not go out on fire this year, I'd have
Hmm.
been shit out of luck. But since I made myself available that year and got all that extra experience, and then in the fall I had been working with this contractor all year to the point
Hmm.
where I'm making, especially for the area I'm in, I'm making a really really good wage. Very skills pay the bills. If you can get into a
Yeah.
specified trade labor,
Yeah.
that's the way to go. But if I hadn't have just trusted my gut and made myself available when I
Hmm.
wasn't down bad or anything, but I was like, I can't. Opportunities are opportunities, and even if I don't
Yeah.
necessarily need this, I'm gonna jump on this right now. I
Hmm.
don't know what I'd be doing this year. I wouldn't have had the decision to not go on fire, and I would have had to go out there with a bum knee and be a liability.
Yeah.
That would have put me in a position to where like I can't provide at all if I were to really get hurt.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, sometimes those opportunities are going to crawl out of the woodworks when you're least expecting. So just keeping yourself available, you know what I mean? It's and it come to find out like I really enjoy doing the home improvement and the roofing and stuff like that. And that's a
Hmm.
trade. That's a trade I could take anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're always building homes like you said anywhere, like all over the country. I I had a friend. He asked me to do construction. If you, I don't even know if they're still doing the stuff, but at the time, that's why I first started working with this the guy I'm working with now, and it looked like it was gonna be more consistent work. But over the last 2 weeks, like I maybe worked one day out of the week, and I was like, I can't survive on that. You know what I mean? You can't provide for my family on that. So now that's what's been making me a little uneasy. But I make sure I pray, and I'm still applying for jobs and stuff like that. Because like I don't mind being outside, and I've been helping people here and there. You do yard work for like doctors and stuff like that. But I just need something. I might have to reach back out to see if I can. I don't know nothing about building nothing, but I'm one of those people that like just show me how it's done and then I can do it. You know what I mean? So maybe I'll get into that. I have no idea. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm gonna try not to shut out opportunities. But also too, when I pray, I make sure I'm like, God, if this, because sometimes we have our own will and we try to live our own will. So I'm like, Lord, if this ain't your will, then don't even let me step foot in that building or in this place. Like I don't even want them to call me back because I don't want to be too eager and then be like, oh, this is from God, and then I step into a situation like at my last job, which was pretty cool because I met one guy who's like a brother to me now, But other than that, I just hated working there from start to finish. Just like I was just miserable there. But because I felt like I was running from my calling, sort of like Jonah. That's what I felt. Like. I felt like Jonah.
Yeah,
But it is
yeah.
what it is.
No, it'll pop up, and if you just keep that mindset when it does pop up, you'll feel it in your gut, and then you'll just put your all into it, and then
Hmm.
everything will pan out, and then it'll just be a distant memory.
Yeah,
You
that's
just
what I'm
be like,
trying to do
oh,
with this.
remember when the warehouse closed?
Yeah, yeah.
And then you'll just be like, ah, fuck that warehouse. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, I'm trying. That's why I'm trying so much with this. Like, I don't like. I don't know if we said it here. We've talked about it a lot. But some people doing stuff for money. Like I actually, like I said, when Chad first showed, I was like, "Oh, this is enjoy." I know it just sounds like talking, but it's like I'm sharing. It's with iron sharpening iron. Like you're sharing stuff with me. I'm sharing stuff with you, and so I'm able to learn and grow as this goes on. And just like even before we got in, I was like, "Oh, you teaching me something now." You know what I mean? I'm enjoying that. And like I'm streaming today. I'll be streaming tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I got something to go. But it's just like, darn it, I ain't making no money from it yet. And then I'm trying to figure out ways to make filling that gap because I'm only releasing an episode every once a week. I'm just like, I feel anxious being not being able to release more in a week. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do in that middle time to where I can keep people's attention on the channel in that week. So I'm working on that too. Like I said, I feel like I'm called for this, even though I'm not making any money from it. I enjoy it, and only God knows what the future holds.
You just keep focusing on quality conversations, and
Yeah.
I don't think you're gonna have any issues at all. And lucky for you, like the people that you're surrounded with and the community that we kind of both affiliate ourselves with,
Hmm.
that's a deep well of people
Yeah.
that are interesting. They got game. Like the besides what episode is this? What, four, three, four,
It's six.
six?
I've put out four. No
You
wait, I
put
put it out four. Yeah, this is six. It might be seven. Golly, I can't remember. This is six or seven. I can't even remember no more. I have to
There's
go and look through the thing.
tons of people
Yeah.
within our circle that you're gonna they all specialize in different type of things. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? I'm kind of that blue collar dude. You still got
Hmm.
Canon, you all these
Yeah.
different Mike. Like there's a group
Yeah.
of people you pull like a lot of information from. Chad, I know you got
Yeah.
to get Chad on.
I can't remember. I think he's the one that's Wednesday. Cause it was because that conversation I sent to you, the screenshot, it was about him. He was like, "You don't want to have me on? Not you don't want to have me on a show." He said something, and I told him I was like, "Yeah, I wanted to get you on the show. I just didn't want to do too many hotels back to back because I didn't want to feel like I was trying to like pillage the group. You know, I didn't want to
Yeah,
be. I didn't want to seem like a how they say D rider. I didn't want to come off like a fanboy. You know what I mean? Even though, like I told you, I respect y'all. I didn't want to
yeah.
come
No,
off like a
I had put in our Men of Order chat earlier. I was
yeah,
like, hey, I'm going on with Duke Lucas later
yeah,
to talk about white people activities. And I
yeah.
was just like I was joking because I hit you up on the timeline the other day that I'm gonna set the record straight on white people activities. And Chad was like, he hasn't even had me on, and we were supposed to do a bracket
Yeah.
for white and black people activities. I was like, I'm the one that asked to come on. It was my idea.
Yeah,
Like,
that and then
yo, chill.
you were free because I was like, he's already. That's what I thought was funny because you basically skipped the line. I was like, well, I have an opening Sunday. You were like, oh yeah, I can come on Sunday. So like, it's like you jumped the line.
And see, Chad, we didn't discuss white people activities. So when you're on, you can talk about all your suburban white people activities and all that couscous you be making with your crawfish and shit. I'm a Chad troller. So
Yeah,
because I like giving Chad a hard time, but
me too. I
I,
keep
I
telling
try
him
to
it's
be
it.
I try to be graciously because Chad has been a really really dope, reliable friend
Hmm.
since I came in contact with everybody
Hmm.
around here. Like Chad's a real one for sure.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
and that's how you know I rock with you if I make fun of you a lot. So
Yeah,
I love you, Chad. How about
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Pause.
Even though you, even though you're fed, Chad, I don't.
Yeah, you know you
I
yeah,
told him, I was like, me, he's the only white guy in New Orleans that don't have an accent. I was like, you're not fooling me, man.
bro. I've always been a little fishy on that, man. I know when I bet the Cajun comes out when he gets mad.
Yeah, probably.
You know, I bet I bet someone cuts him off of traffic. He starts sounding like Lieutenant Dan. You can't even understand what he's saying. He starts cussing everybody out.
Yeah.
No, dude, but
Sometimes.
this is dope. I'm glad that I was kind of just shooting the shit when I asked you about, hey,
Yeah.
what's up with the pod? So I'm glad that you were able to get me on that quick.
I'm trying to fill my schedule up. Is I've done no wait. Have I done 200? I've done once where I've done one in the morning, one in the afternoon. But I'm trying to fill my schedule up. I really want to fill it up so I can release more than once a week. Cause but if I don't have enough saved up, I won't release more than once a week. But I enjoy doing this. It's a lot of it's people. I know I'm just getting started, but it's a lot of brain work that goes into it. It's not a lot of physical labor, but it's some brain work that goes into it that I can feel like when I get off. I'm like most of the time, like right now, once we get off, I'll be thinking of stuff I could have said, or oh, I could have did this better, or I could have said this. So it's a lot of like brain work that goes into it. I'm noticing now. It's not like the physical labor, like I said, when we moving wheelbarrows and stuff like that. It's sort of similar to like photography, how I'm not doing a lot of heavy lifting in photography, but I have to focus on so many things mentally. Like in my head, I'm trying to make sure, am I spending too much time? Like I'm over here fidgeting with this thumbtack, and I'm like, darn, have I been paying too much attention with this thumbtack? Is my head up high enough? Am I centered? I know I've been. Look, see now I'm definitely paying too much. I done slid down in my chair. I ain't even noticed. We've been here I got comfortable. We've been here 3.5 hours. I got comfortable, y'all. It just is what it is. And then
Yeah,
I'm
hey,
just
you know, I'll send some people your way too that you guys might be following each other. If you're
hey,
not, I'll make sure that that happens because
I,
I
yeah,
got
I'm
a
always go
few
ahead, go ahead.
people that I got a few people that I think you'd have a really good conversation with.
Hey, just let them know I'm simple. I ain't no genius. Like who was I listening? I listen to a lot on the Griff. What it's a lot of smart people, but it's some folks they're off in an area where I'm like, man, I have not studied that enough to goddamn.
Oh, wait, when Jonah calls in,
That's
dude.
who I was thinking. That's who I was
Yeah,
thinking. I was like,
when
geez, I
Jonas
haven't.
Canadian ass calls in, I'm just like, all right, man, let's. I don't know if I got the wingspan to
Yeah,
pick up the air that this dude's about to cut. I don't
yeah,
know,
because
but
he invited me, and it didn't. I think at the time I didn't have I can't remember what it was, but even in my head, I'm thinking I was like, bro, I won't be able. I don't think I'll be able to contribute anything to your show because he knows so much about certain stuff, and I'm just like, hey man, I can't. I can make a joke. That's the best I can add to the show. Like, I can't do. No, I don't know.
that's
Maybe
what
that's
I'm saying.
more.
That's it.
Maybe that's more imposter syndrome click coming in.
It
I
is
don't
though.
know.
It is though
Yeah.
because you just gotta go be yourself, and like everybody's got, everybody's got their strike somewhere. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I very often when speaking to some of those guys, I feel pretty stupid. But then it'll get into something in my wheelhouse, and then they probably feel the same way for that short period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
just flex your strengths, but lean into your weaknesses, and
Yeah.
you know,
I learned to start saying I don't know. Like that. That's helpful. You don't know. You don't know. Because I think I used to try. If I didn't know the answer, I used to try to find the answer that kind of made sense. But then when you look back, you're like, you just sounded retarded. So now I just got to be like, I don't know. Like you might ask me something. Like I remember, a buddy of mine, he asked me, I think it was do I think that black people are on the curse of Ham or something like that? And I was like, I don't know. I've heard it, but I don't. I'm not. I haven't did enough studying to give a good answer on it. So I'll just say I don't know. So I don't know will keep you from embarrassing yourself to those who are listening out there. But man, we've been going on for 3.5 hours. This is the longest pod we've had so far. I tell you,
Well,
Chad
it's
was on
fun.
it. Yeah, Chad was. He told me he was like, "Yeah, make him an hour, hour and a half." And I was like, "Okay, okay, I'll do that." But that's just not me. I talk a lot, and sometimes you just get comfortable. And I had two that were hour, hour and a half, but the rest of them have been 2.5 hours. This is the longest
Damn,
one
has
so
it been
far.
that? Oh, I guess it has. It says the time right there, doesn't it?
I ain't looked at my phone. I got carried away. Is there anything you would like to ask me or say before we end it?
Um, I mean, I'll just plug I'll plug Men of Order,
Yeah,
menoforder.com. Get your Apex,
yeah, I got mine in there too.
menoforder.com/Cassius for a huge discount. We got workouts. We're building something pretty cool. We've been messing with the brand for the last few years, and then HJ really kind of like grabbed the bull by the horns and kind of got us dialed on like a specific goal, along with like the
Hmm.
other guys that we're over there with
Hmm.
with Jonesy and Ant and Chad and everybody and Strong Dad, and kind of found our lane now. So
Yeah,
it's cool. We got merch and supplements and workouts, and
yeah.
I get to film myself in the gym like a white girl. So it's
You ain't trying to catch people looking at your butt, is you?
nah, nah,
Man, I was. It was. Well, I lost when I said that. I lost. I was gonna add one more little thing, but I lost my train of thought. But it's much of nothing. It was just I was gonna say by the time this comes out, I may know how to put the helpful stuff in the description. So to get to the minute order stuff, I may have that in the description by the time this releases. I just haven't learned that stuff yet. I'm still learning. I ain't even learned how to make thumbnails. The thumbnail is gonna be my face and your face, and it just is what it is until I get some skill or somebody's like, "Hey, I like your show. I'll do it for free." And I'm just like, "Yes, more work off my plate." But it just is what it is, man.
nah,
I
you'll
appreciate.
you'll get it. You just gotta keep nerd out on the DIY videos on YouTube. Like
Yeah,
when I started making music, my mixes
yeah,
were fucking trash, dude. I go back and listen to like how my old shit was mixed, and
yeah,
then I just started nerding out until I figured it out. Just messed with dials. It's like oh, that wasn't too hard. So
yeah,
now you'll figure it out, dude. And this has been cool, man. I'm glad that I got to come on and chop with you.
yeah. If you ever got a something on your head, you're like, "Hey, man, let's do another one or whatever." Hey, I'm glad to have you on, man. I I haven't had a guest that I was like, "All right, I don't want to talk to this guy no more." I haven't had one of those yet. I haven't had even the shorter ones. They're only short because people had things to do, places to go beforehand. But so far, everybody's been cool to chat with. I'd be glad to have them on, especially when like let's say you decide you want to write a book or something. You want to plug it, man. You cool in my book? Bring it on. We'll talk about it. I can maybe ask. I'm talking too much, but just know you're always welcome. And I just appreciate having you on. I appreciate the hotel community. I appreciate, you know, I appreciate you reaching out and volunteering. You're the first person to like, hey, have me on. So I appreciate that, man. I think that's it, man. I hope you have a good after night. It ain't afternoon. It's nighttime, right?
Yes, sir.
So I hope you have a good evening. Stay blessed. Keep your head up. And take it easy.
All right, Bubba.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.